All right. We live, man. What's goody?
Yo, 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 yo. No, I'm stop.
Now you want to be Charlemagne all the way.
Fact,
What up? What up? I ain't listened to the Breakfast Club all year, man. So I feel it. I mean, like a business set, yo.
I ain't listening to the Breakfast Club in like years, bro. I'm beyond not years. I would say like a year, a good year. I listen. It's not even like purposely. Like it just I don't know. I don't really be motivated.
Don't
As
be
much.
trying to listen to the radio, man. That make my morning sometimes. I ain't gonna lie.
that's a fact.
What up? What up, Michael?
I be
What up,
spending a
Megan
lot of time
Lapola?
on YouTube. That's the problem. Like, you know what I mean, or music.
Big bro, need you. See you in the chat. What up? What up? What up?
Hmm. Yo,
So
again.
Eli, how was your day today?
We started.
Okay, damn. I appreciate that. New year,
Yeah,
new you, man. Like,
uneventful.
it was uneventful.
Nigga said New Year, same answer.
Same answer, but I appreciate the respect, man. Like, I was telling the ladies backstage, man. I was looking forward to this live stream like all week, man. I ain't gonna
This
hold
be
you.
the highlight of his week.
It do be the highlight. You know what I mean? We do got an episode. We got a new episode premiere tomorrow. Make sure y'all tune in 11 a.m. in the morning, and then we recording another episode later that night. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting tomorrow. So what about you, Ace? I got a reciprocator. How was your day?
Well, thank you for asking, sir. My day was pretty good. I mean, I ain't really do much, just work, and then I chefed it up a little bit. You know, I be in the kitchen. You know what I mean.
Why you always be lying to the chat, man? Like,
Yeah,
hamburger helper do not count as chefing it up. I keep
you said what don't count?
Hamburger helper, like that don't count, my boy.
No, Eli. Don't make me expose you, bro.
Yo, we're gonna have to do this on the show. We're gonna
have to do a cook off or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You don't want that problem, man.
I ain't gonna hold you. Eli gonna order some shit from Bread Style Fly, and then he gonna put the shit in the plate, make it look fancy, and we know he lying.
Yo, Keem, and your mom can't be there in the kitchen, looking over your shoulder. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yo, even my mom told you that I'm Chef Boyardee Akeem. You know,
she did not say that. She
said that, bro.
She did not say that.
She didn't say that, Drew? Keep it real. Well, she didn't say them exact words, but she said I was cooking.
You told me to keep it real. I ain't hear those words. Keep it real. Y'all know I'm here to keep it real.
She was half asleep when you called it. She probably thought she was dreaming or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, listen, man. Yo, Drew, how was your day, real quick?
Man, day was busy, very eventful, unlike Eli's. But I'm just trying to get this stuff ready for our event. You know what I'm saying? Saturday, January 21st. You know what I'm saying? Everybody pull up if you're in the NYC area, man, for a good time.
Yeah, when they get hot outside, we're gonna have a park event. We're gonna see who throw it down on the grill. You know what I mean?
You talking about the grill? Anybody could put a fucking hamburger on the grill and flip the shit.
I mean, where else we got? So what you propose?
We're gonna have to rent out a actual professional set kitchen. You know what I mean? And really go off.
You know,
Eli, you know you don't want that problem, bro. You know you don't want that problem.
Telling y'all if it which dish is good, which dish is trash. I'm gonna throw the plate in y'all face like this shit is garbage. Like
David,
ain't no judge.
The chef name David.
Yeah, boy.
You gotta bring them bum ass wigs, nigga.
In fact, yo,
I see. Hold on, before we move on, I see some new members in the chat. Shout out to Joseph Holly. You know what I mean? King Confidence. I see y'all in the green. What's good?
What up, Amber?
Amber Whipper. I see you.
King Confidence, my boy. What up?
Yo, before we get into this, before we get into the live stream, before I introduce the guests, I just want to read an article that I just read like right before the live stream, right? So I want to read it to y'all and get y'all thoughts on this, right? It says trans age activist now claims age is a social construct, right? So let me go into the article. He's saying trans ageism is a thing now, like, you know what I'm saying? So
like I can say I'm 25, like that's what you.
There's trans age activists now. So it says the rise of transgenderism over the last year has made us all wonder what's the next progression is. Well, there's trans age. That's when trans age comes in. Activists are claiming that age is nothing more than a social construct, and that trans age individuals need to be accepted into society. And there's a whole article here. I might link it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna put it in the I'm put it in the bio, man. There's a whole article here about people who really is passionate about trans ageism, and I'm just like, yo, this is Yeah, that don't sound crazy to y'all. Like,
You know what I want to be? I want to be a trans billionaire. That's what I want to be.
oh, all right. I'm glad you said that at the end. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I mean, you can identify as whatever you want.
I want to identify as a billionaire from now on. So from now on, I'm a billionaire. You know what I mean?
If you're a billionaire,
address me as such. Okay.
Next, you won't have to be human. You could be an animal. I think they're starting that up too.
trans
animalism. Then they said like some kids was like some dogs at school. Like,
I'm a wolf. You could be a wolf or goat or whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a billionaire.
I'm the GOAT, so I mean that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So anyway. Oh, stop. Oh, damn. You got it. It is in your name. I got to take that. Anyway, man, we do got some special guests that we want to bring. We got a pretty packed panel today. We got some great topics lined up. Man, I'm just excited just to have the conversation. Y'all always are respectful, but I want everybody just to make sure y'all respectful to the beautiful women on the panel today. If y'all got any super chats, we will definitely get to the super chats in between, kind of topics and stuff like that. I know y'all gonna have a lot of questions. Y'all gonna have a lot to say on your mind and all that. So we definitely gonna get to all the super chats. So without further ado, let me start.
And Michael, only try to shoot your shot at one of them tonight, not all of them.
I mean, you know how Mike would do, like, you know what I'm saying. So I'm gonna bring them in one at a time, let them introduce themselves, and we're gonna get straight into the panel. That sound good?
Yes, sir. What up, Niji?
Yo.
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
What's your name and where the folks can follow you at?
My name is Monisha, and you can find me on Instagram at ms_Monisha.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. My name is Jalmise. I am a nurse practitioner and a life coach. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at thatpsychmpchick.
Got it right there for y'all who can't spell. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, we got queens in the building. You on mute? Oh, there we go.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Naraya Shiloh. You can find me on TikTok at Lady Naraya, and you can also find me on YouTube at Naraya Shiloh Podcast.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Hey, how you doing? You
I'm
sound
good.
nice.
I'm good.
Like what microphone you using? I say you sound nice and clear. What microphone you using? I need that.
That's just my voice. That's just my voice.
Okay, all right.
No, my name is V, and I go by Coach V. I am a relationship coach, and so you can find me on Instagram at _Coach V.
Okay, what state you in?
I'm in Canada.
Canada, okay.
Yeah, that's a whole different country. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm from Canada.
Hi, y'all. I am Trish Renee. I am a certified life coach, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. You can find me on Instagram at emotional_healing_coach Trish.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
And then last but not least, where she go? Let me see. She had two of them up, yo. I don't know where she went. Maybe she'll pop back up. Yeah, she had two of them on, but then one of them disappeared. I don't know. But yeah, she'll probably join back on later, introduce herself. But before we get into these topics, yo, make sure I hit that like button. I already see Niji. You know what I mean? He already supporting. Shout out to Niji.
Shout out to Niji. Said the truth is a lie and a lie is the truth.
Oh, he giving riddles.
Right, you got what you mean by that. Well,
yeah, explain on his Riddler form right now.
Word. Yeah, you can hear us. Sean, you on mute. There we go. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear. Sorry, y'all. My connection is a little janky tonight for some reason.
Nah, that's good. Let them know your name and then where they can follow you at.
Well, my name is Tiara Jacolia. You guys can follow me on Instagram at TIERRA_holiday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I was about to say she had that same internet that you used to have. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know the feeling. It still happens from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Listen, get into the first topic. I see we got some relationship coaches. How do you identify red flags in potential partners and avoid unhealthy relationships? What's your thoughts about that? Anybody could just jump in.
Honestly, I tell people all the time, the red flags are usually right there in your face. Like most of the time when you are entering a situation, the red flags are there. You are choosing to ignore them because you are focused on that happy feeling you get from being in a new relationship. Like people usually tell you who they are from the beginning. You just choose not to see it because you want to focus on the positive. You want to see, oh, the bright side. You look at, oh, it's not a big thing, when in actuality, these are the things later on down the line that are going to make the relationship fall apart. So right up front, when somebody shows you that they're inconsistent, believe that they're inconsistent. Not, oh, it was a mistake you make, because you start rationalizing and making excuses for people when they already told you from jump, this is who I am as a person. So if you choose to pursue the relationship and keep going, you're putting yourself in a situation that is more than likely going to end up in a bad situation.
You don't think people could change in a relationship?
Everybody changes in a relationship.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, go.
So everybody changes in a relationship because as people. Hold on. Okay. So are we?
No, I'm so sorry. Honestly, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No. Okay. So all I was saying is you're going to change. Everybody's going to change. But there's certain fundamental principles about people that are always going to be the same. Okay. Yes, we all change. We grow. We mature. We develop. But certain fundamental principles will always be the same.
So how you know what's the fundamental principles and phases?
That's just, you just have to have the difficult questions, the difficult conversations up front. People are always afraid to say, oh, I don't want to scare them away by asking such and such. Scare them away. If they're going to be scared by you asking these difficult questions, then they're not meant to be there in the first place.
That's the red flag.
That's it. If I ask you a question and you like, oh my goodness, that's too deep, that's too much. Right. Red flag. That's it. That's it. Red flag.
And they start calling you intense and you're rushing things and slow down and all sorts of nonsense. But personally, for me, like how I identify red flags is I usually look at people for who they are around others, not just me. Because typically when someone's interested in you, they are going to act different. They are going to put up a front. They're not going to really be their true selves the minute that they meet you. So for me personally, I'm looking at how do you treat other people? How do you treat yourself? Do you have respect for yourself, first of all? Do you know what respect is? And then I start to analyze them and observe them and see how that they like maneuver and this, that, and that. And that's how I do it. And then also I don't like, I'm so sorry. I forgot your name.
Mike?
You were just saying about.
Jalmise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jalmise, yeah. About people make excuses. Don't make excuses for people's behaviors. What you see is what you're going to get. Everything that you overlook is going to overwhelm you later on. Because you decided to ignore it now, it's going to come back 10 times worse. So don't ignore everything that you're seeing now. And it's okay to ask people questions for clarification. It's okay to say, why do you act like, how do you do this? And if you're not satisfied with their answers, it's a red flag. So that's just how I see it.
So who do you think is more likely to ignore red flags, men or women?
Women.
You was gonna say men. I definitely read your lips. You was gonna say men.
I don't think men. I feel like men see red flags and think that it's not going to affect them. I think men always think, oh, it's not going to bother me, like I'm here for a one-time thing or whatever thing. And so they think it's not going to bother them until it starts to bother them. And then they wonder why. Men think because I communicated what I want and how I feel, your red flag shouldn't affect me. That's how they think.
I think women feel they can change men, and that's a red flag because we think that we can fix him. We think that he has potential, and we think we could change him. So I think women ignore red flags more than 100%.
Men. Yeah, I think women act off of like love before they usually use their brain in the beginning stage. We're just so emotional that we don't care to see the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you another question, right?
We see them and ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
So how important is it to ask a woman about her relationship with her father? You You think that's important? What do you think you could learn from that information?
Ooh, a lot, because I feel like some people, they were raised on love and were raised on survival, and that's a big different when it comes to marriage and stuff. Because some guys have never seen that. That's not a goal of theirs. They think that's a fairy tale, But when you're raised that way, you're kind of expecting that the guy thinks that way. But if you don't know someone's background, sometimes they don't have the same goals as you. Women too. Some women, the goal is not to get married. The goal is not to be a wife or a mother. Some women, were raised to use men or, for other reasons.
Okay, so if a woman says she doesn't have a good enough relationship or doesn't have a relationship at all with her father, you think that's a red flag?
Could be, depending on if they worked on themselves. Everyone's different.
I think it's all individual and it's specific to the person. I don't think that it's across the board that because she didn't have a good relationship with her dad that that's a red flag, because maybe her dad might have not been a good man and she went to the other end of the spectrum, and she's looking for something else. So I don't think that parenting really can define a person as a red flag or not. It's what they do with their life. It's choices. You see the outcome of what happened with your mother and your father. You want a different outcome.
I think it influences though. I don't think it always is the outcome, but I think it can influence you 100%. I think the same thing for a guy who doesn't have a good relationship with his father too. That could also be a red flag. It won't always be. Everything's always situational, and it depends. If you've made the conscious choice to say, hey, I'm going to be like my father, I'm not going to be like my mother, that's different. But I think it definitely influences, and I think it definitely can be a red flag for sure.
So how do you know when it's situational or not? Because if they said, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, that'll automatically be a red flag, or do you give him time to prove himself to be different?
That's when we get into asking the hard question. If you're telling me you didn't have a good relationship, why? I'm going to ask why. I'm not going to say, oh, it's a sensitive topic, I'm going to leave it alone, because that could blow up in your face later on down the line. You need to ask, okay, well, why was this relationship not good? Was it, something they did? Was it, what was the cause of the relationship not being good? And from that answer, you'll be able to tell if it was a red flag or not.
So what would you consider
I would ask, how
be a solid red flag for him to say? Like you say, well, what was that relationship like with your dad? What would you consider to be like, oh yeah, no, red flag, not about to do it?
With a male specifically with his father, because remember we was just talking about women with their father. So with a male with his father, if he's like, no, I don't have a relationship with my father, and it's like, why? Well, he was just in and out of my life. And it's like, okay, well, was the effort put in? Then you have to, like, it's not just a simple one-word answer. You know what I mean? Like that's an in-depth conversation that you have to have with someone to really see where their mind is at. That's not something that they can give you a genuine answer and you can make a determination in a couple sentences. You really have to figure out, okay, you guys don't have a healthy relationship. Why don't you have a healthy relationship? And how did that unhealthy relationship affect you? Because I think that's more of the question than why you don't have the relationship. How did not having the relationship affect you? Because if, okay, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, so I didn't have a good example of what a man should be, and now I'm a piece of shit, that's a red flag. But if it was like, okay, my father didn't treat my mother the way that she deserved to be treated, and I want to make sure that I am not going to do the same thing, then that's not a red flag. That's him taking accountability and saying, okay, I know that I didn't have a good example, so I'm not going to do the same thing. That's why it's not just what's the relationship. You got to really get in there and figure out exactly what's going on.
This may be a double standard, but I do believe, women probably need both parents more than, because men know their roles in a relationship. Regardless, you're going to be responsible for the providing, the protecting, regardless. That's standard. We have to follow those things. A lot of women, not a lot, I want to say there's a group of women that don't feel like they don't know how to treat a man or how a man should be treated. They didn't see it from their mother, where me as a man growing up, I didn't have my father there around, but I knew once I had kids, I would have to take care of them. regardless. That's my job. When you're a woman growing up, if you don't see the value and the importance of a man, you wouldn't know how to treat a man. But we know how to treat women because we have mothers.
See, I'm thinking. Let me chime in here real quick.
I don't think it's about,
I don't fully agree with that.
You really
And
think about,
yeah, she definitely.
do you really think it's about knowing how to treat a man or knowing how to treat a person in? Sorry, was I talking over someone?
No,
you are kind of delayed. Like, you be speaking after somebody already said the whole sentence. Yeah, so but it's all good though. It's all good though.
What you were saying?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you. We just
hear you.
Is it really, oh, okay. Is it really about we don't know how to treat a man, or we just don't know? Because to me, I'm like, shouldn't we just know how to treat people right in general? Because then we'd be able to know how to treat a man. Or is there a difference?
Not. Men and women require total different types of treatment.
Yeah, definitely. There are some women that like they really don't know. My boyfriend had told me that. You want me to go? So he told me I was the first one that like got his clothes ready for work. And it's crazy because like I saw my mom do that. My mom packed his lunch. My dad didn't worry about laundry. He didn't worry about none of that, you know? So when he told me, like, he's 32 years old and we've been together 4 years and I'm the only one that like got your stuff. Like, what were the other women doing? I'm confused, you know? Like, I don't know, but some women don't think that, I don't think it's necessary, but that's what I'm going to do for my man. It's not.
They ain't never happened to me.
Well,
honestly, as raising both sexes, and I'm the main parent majority of the time, I'm going to say that it has been, and my daughter is older than my son by 7 years. It's easier grooming my daughter to be feminine. As a woman, I can't teach my son how to be a man. I can my father to his other grandfather. Teach him how to be a female. I can teach him on my qualities, and even there's aspects when I've had to completely balance myself out so that he isn't a version of, and I believe that boys are born with something that's innate on the inside of them because he's a gentleman. He knows things, but he needs his father more so than my daughter needs her dad, because I'm teaching her how to be a woman. I know how to be a woman. I don't know how to be a man. I was raised by a man and he was raised by a man. I could point him to Proverbs and tell him, son, this is the laws that your mother give you. But if you look at the statistics and the facts, when a man is absent from the household, it has such a bigger impact because of everything that comes with the man that a woman cannot give.
Right.
I can agree with that.
So
men provide balance. It provides balance in the household. Fathers are way more important than they get credit for. This is why our lives are the way that it is right now, because you have women trying to teach boys how to be men, and you cannot. All you can do is love them and teach them how to be a good person, you know. And this is why, I hate to say it, why we have a lot of feminine men now, because they have a lot of qualities that they getting from their mom. That's why they're argumentative. This is why they go and all of that, because the women won't. I mean, and then it's times when the women just aren't letting the dads be in their lives for whatever reason, and it's not fair to the kid.
Let me ask a question real quick, right? Because I know we gonna get into that, but oftentimes what I hear from Black women specifically is that, you know, they are unable to be feminine because of, you know, their circumstances in life, and they, whatever the case may be. Would y'all accept a man saying, you know what, I'm not really masculine because I didn't have a father figure like that. Like, I can only be masculine for the right type of woman. Would women be comfortable with a man saying that type of rhetoric?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
My man got to be masculine. Oh no, he got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
In a way.
Now, I
need my man to be comfortable to lead. I want to be able to sit in my femininity. I want to be able to. I love taking care of my household. I love cooking, cleaning, catering to my man. You know, I don't want the weight of the world on my shoulders. Now, if he needs me to help him, then that's different. We'll have that conversation. But no, he needs to run this. And I will let you do that.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, a lot of
100%.
women, they can't be feminine if the man isn't being masculine, especially when you have kids, you know, like if you're working full time and trying to take care of the household and try to cook home.
I don't see, and that's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. You're saying women can't be feminine because of a man, right? If he's not masculine or whatever. I'm saying, would y'all be? Men have to tolerate that. Black men have been hearing that for years now. I'm asking Black women, would they be okay with hearing a man say, I exist in my femininity until I can meet a woman who can make me masculine? If the roles would flip, will Black women accept that from men?
So what type of
because I don't expect a man to
how can a woman make a man masculine?
Yeah.
How can a
the
man
same way that
women
women say that, the same way women say, well, I can't be feminine because of that. It's unacceptable on both sides. Unacceptable.
So what would make a man more feminine? What would a woman be having to do to make a man more feminine? Because don't get me wrong, I understand and I get where you're coming from, but my question is, what would a woman have to be doing to make a man feel like he's feminine? What are some examples of that?
You know what I was thinking? You know, there are some women that they provide, they work, and the man stays at home, and they're kind of okay with that. But I feel like that would make them, if the woman is the breadwinner, you kind of are automatically more feminine. If you're just tolerating that, if you're not trying to go out and make all the money, if you're letting her do it all, well, you've already demasculine. You know, you're already not masculine because you're allowing her to be the breadwinner.
Allowing is. I think that's a little different.
Would that be the same? Let's say he got into an accident and he can't work, or he's sick and she has to be the breadwinner now. Would that still make him less masculine or put into a feminine position?
No, because that wasn't a choice. If there was an accident, that wasn't a choice.
Yeah.
If you are choosing to step back and put your significant other in the forefront, that's a different situation than being obligated to do so. If there's an accident, that's out of your control. You don't really have a say in whether or not you get to go out and be that provider. Whereas if you're making the choice, hey, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to take on the role of managing the home, which is generally the woman's job, because that's what it's going to have to be. There's no way that you can have her going to work and then still expect her to fulfill her role in the home the same way. And I think that's where we see a lot of tension in households, because some men expect that. They expect you to go out and work full time and then still come home and fulfill your role as the housewife. And that's where a lot of stress comes from.
I think
it could be done, because
I'm not saying it can't be done.
If I may, I saw it.
Go ahead.
36 years. Years.
They should go in and out.
Before my mother passed away. And I'm going out. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, because I hope it come back in. I said, my parents were married for 36 years. My mom was in school for 2 bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and her doctorate degree. She was first lady at our church. She had her own ministries and everything else. And she served and she was still an amazing mother. Do what it needs to do. That's the role that you decide to take on.
Yeah, your connection is pretty bad.
The modern day women have moved.
So
okay.
A financial status determines how masculine a man is.
Yeah, she definitely
not.
Not necessarily financial status, but it's funny because I've been in both of these relationships. When I was younger, like 19 to 24, I dated a guy and he kind of, all he did was play video games. I didn't care because I had my own money. So I was like, I don't really need you to pay the rent. As long as you're faithful to me, cool. Like, do what you want to do, like play your video games. But once I had kids, that's a whole nother story because now I need help. Like now I need to be there for the kids. I don't have time to be out here working and trying to do all this and you're just going to sit here. So that's when that relationship ended it, because at that point, it's a different ball game now. We're not just, that's when it got bad.
My thing is, and we're gonna take a break real quick just to get to the super chats. My thing is, women, y'all still know how to be nurturing no matter what you have to do in life to your children, right? You would never use that as an excuse for your child, like, oh, I can't be nurturing or be your mother because I'm working 2 jobs. Y'all could work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, still come home, be nurturing to your children. But now, for some reason, all of a sudden, when women have worked hard to be in these positions where you guys are working now it's like, oh, well, I'm making more money than you. I can't be feminine because like it's like a picking and choosing, because you would never go to your boss, your job, and not be, y'all submit to your jobs, your employer all the time. Y'all never come in. Y'all be talking about PMS and I'm on my period. Y'all know how to turn that off completely when y'all go to your workplace, because y'all don't get a hissy fit with y'all boss. But for some reason, y'all can control your emotions when y'all go to your bosses. But for some reason, when it's a dynamic between men and women, now it becomes, oh, well, I cannot be feminine because X, Y, and Z. So there's that selective femininity that women on the flip end would not tolerate from Black men. If we said we had selective masculinity, it would not even be an issue. Y'all wouldn't even consider us. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's where some men are having the issue is like, why do we have to get selective femininity from our women when y'all would not tolerate selective masculinity from men? So, Keem, we're gonna get back into that, but let us just get to these super chats real quick, and then we're gonna let Trish go, because Trish over here been quiet. I ain't hear her all night, so we gonna let her.
Yeah, we got one from Joseph Holly. He said 6 ladies on the panel is going down tonight. Sean C. # Sassy Apocalypse.
That episode is out.
Go watch that. That was a good episode. Shout out to Chili Freeman. We got one from King Confidence. He said, yo, my boys starting the new year the right way. Beautiful panel. Actual women of virtue, class, and intelligence. Kudos to my guys. Appreciate
you, King Confidence.
And then we got the big bro, Nietzsche. He started off with a low 50, you know what I mean? This is just sound like, not me. He said, to whom it applies, what qualifies you as a life coach? He wanted to get to that question. Y'all ladies could answer that one respectfully.
So I know me personally, I did a 6-week certification in addition to, because I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I have a master's degree in nursing. So I diagnose, I prescribe medication, but I also did a 6-week certification to get my life coaching certificate in addition to my degree.
Okay. Somebody else?
I also took a certification class, so it was that, and then like people coming to me for life advice made me a life coach too. Like I was literally known at work as the person you go to for advice. So people will come to different departments like, Trish, I heard you're a really good listener. Can you help me with this? So like just genuinely being there for people the way you would need somebody there for you. That's kind of what started me on the train to be a life coach. And then it's just like, okay, now I got it on paper. So it just makes it a little more official.
Got you. Okay. I want to give a shout out to cousin George. He sent in a big bro Nietzsche. He said you got to get up out of here. Early start tomorrow. Talk to you guys on IG. Stay on your square, man. Shout out to Nietzsche.
Appreciate you, Nietzsche.
I'm trying to be like Nietzsche in life. Like you can just come in and drop a quick $400. Like, you know what I'm saying, and just be like, yeah, I'm out.
Take that.
I'm out. But y'all enjoy it. You know?
I remain impressed. Shout out to you and Joseph Holly again. He said you need a man in the house if you're having kids. That's period.
That's a fact.
So that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me get to Trish real quick. So what's your whole thoughts on this this topic as far as we was talking about identifying red flags, and then we just switched into masculinity, which I do want to get into a little bit later. I have a video on that. But what's your thoughts on identifying red flags in a potential partner?
For me, like so many people are like, love is blind, and I genuinely do not believe that love is blind, because I think it's just an excuse to overlook the red flags and then be okay with staying in that situation. So how I identify red flags is typically based off my experiences in the past. Like, I know the men I date, they're not my exes, I understand that, but if I've had an abusive ex and he's super insecure, and I date somebody else and he's super insecure, naturally I'm gonna be like, okay, sis, like, you've been through that before, and it goes A, B, C, D, and E. He may not necessarily evolve to being abusive. However, the red flag is still there because I've seen it before. I've done this before. So for me, and like what I tell people, it's always based upon like what you go through in life should be a guide for you going forward. Like, don't use it as a crutch to remain a victim, to be hurt, to stay down or bring people down. Like, use that. You went through that. You passed that test. You absolutely have earned those tears. So you need to use that going forward to identify different situations with different people, because it will always reveal itself in the beginning as long as you're willing to acknowledge it and pay attention.
Yeah, I always hear people say you learn from your mistakes, right? And then, like how you just said that, why is it so common for people to go back to the same situation and be comfortable with that?
Because who wants to do something new? Like, for a relationship, for example, if I'm dating you and we've been courting or dating for, I don't know, 8-9 months, and then now I see like, we're definitely not going to make it to get married. I don't even know how we made it 8-9 months, but we 8-9 months and decide that we're not getting married. Like, you don't want to keep jumping from person to person. So naturally it's like, okay, well, if I go back to this person because I'm pushing 40, 50 and I don't want to be single, at least with them, I know what I'm getting, as opposed to just being comfortable and standing and being single, for example, regardless of how long it is, regardless of what you see on social media, regardless of what people around you are doing. So it's just easier to go back to a comfort zone than to dive into something new.
I mean, that do make sense. Like, you know what I mean? People are, you like I said, stay in a comfort zone. So I think one of the reasons I think why people gravitate so much to these type of podcasts or these type of live stream, because I think that in general, there's two things that everybody can relate to, right? And that's music and love, right? Everybody could talk about love or relationship that they've been in, which is why I think why people gravitate so much towards these conversations, because ultimately I think people want to find love. I think people want to find a relationship, a successful relationship. But with that being said, what do you think are some questions you should ask on like a first date? Like, you on a date with somebody, what are some appropriate questions that kind of, you know, that kind of eliminate some of the red flags, or you could kind of see if there's some red flags there? What's some good questions to ask on a first date?
For me,
I know women, y'all like to ask, what's your social security number, and what's, you know what I mean, all this other craziness, right? You know what I'm saying?
Like, I love to ask questions, but I'm gonna let somebody else go before I sound too intense. So let me see what went on.
The first thing I want to know is what their relationship is with God. That's my first question.
Yeah.
And then I kind of let it go from there. And then I feel it out from there. But I want to know where you stand spiritually, where your foundation is.
So let's say for me, example, we on a date and you ask me that question. I tell you, I'm not really religious. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Is that a red flag?
That's fine. I'm not religious either. I don't believe in religion. I believe in a relationship with God. Religion, I feel, is a hype, and that's a totally different topic. But, you know, and then I can see how he receives me with the things that I do with what I believe in. Like, I observe the Sabbath, right? So how is what is he doing when I do the Sabbath? Or I don't eat pork. Is he getting a ham sandwich or ordering bacon? You know what I'm saying? So then I know we're not going to mesh, because that don't go with, you know, what I believe.
And I think she made a great point just now. What might be a red flag for one person is not necessarily a red flag for someone else. So when we're saying identifying red flags, that's not like a generalization. You have to know what red flags are for yourself, because somebody could tell you, oh, that's a red flag in a relationship. But if it's not a red flag for you, it's not a red flag for you. So, but another great question to ask is ask them about their previous relationships. How long are your relationships? Are you someone who is jumping from relationship to relationship? Have you had any long-term relationships? Those are the patterns of behavior tell you a lot about a person. Okay. If you can identify patterns of behavior, you can tell a lot about a person.
Oh, real quick, what if they don't have a long dating history? Like they haven't no like prior history of relationships. Are you comfortable with that, or
as a full-grown adult, you have no history? That's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a red flag. As a full-grown adult, you have no experience with relationships. Absolutely not.
I could agree, but that got me so much further with a lot of women because
scary.
A lot of women like, okay, I could team him into these. And they always think they found the jackpot until they fuck up.
That's kind of like I'm thinking about it, and you know, men probably, I would say men, and y'all can let me know in the chat. Men would probably value a woman with less relationships, whereas women would look at a man with less relationships as a red flag. Like, you know what I mean? So, I think that's would y'all agree with that?
Yeah, that's two different stories. Yeah.
But why is a man with
you gotta see who they were dating too. Like if they were all trash, they were all whores, okay, and they weren't long term cool. I get it. They weren't good enough, you know. But if you're just hopping around, so you don't believe in working things out. Clearly, you don't believe in communication. Clearly, you're just ready to up and leave when the going gets tough, you know. So I just can't rock with that.
How about you just don't jump in relationships like that?
That's another red flag because we're looking for marriage. So like if you just ain't trying to, I think know, man.
Like everybody's not marriage material. So
that's a red flag.
Right, different red flags for different people. That's a red flag.
You gotta ask people what their dating purpose is before you get to that point. Because you know, a lot of guys, when we're young, we're not looking for a serious relationship at a certain point in our life. You get what I'm saying? So to be judged on that, I think is fucked up. But let's say I had like this, I woke up, I want to start something new and I want to build something. And then I'm being judged because I don't have no history. But if you ask me what's my intentions, and I'm like, yo, well, at this point in my life, I'm looking for something serious or whatever the case may be. I think that is the conversation we need to have. But, you know, to say that because I'm not worth it or I'm a red flag, it's kind of scary for dudes too.
You might be missing out on the one that's you with that idea. Because, I mean, me personally, I've been in 2 relationships in my life. I'm 33 right now. You feel me? So, but I just don't jump in relationships. For me to get in a relationship.
How long were those relationships?
Excuse me?
How long were those relationships?
2 years and 3 years.
All right. Go ahead.
That's not bad.
I'm trying to analyze. She running the numbers in her head. Like,
people for 2 and 3 months.
So worried.
That's different.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
That doesn't mean that I'm afraid of commitment or anything. It just means that I'm selective with who I get in a relationship with. You know what I mean?
But two long-term relationships is not the same as having no relationship experience. Okay. So when we're saying no relationship experience, if you were to say you have never been in a relationship, that's a concern. That's a red flag. Okay. You've been in 2 long-term relationships. You don't have to have a million different relationships. If you can be in that shows that you can be in a committed situation for a long period of time. That's not a bad thing. When we say no relationship history, I've never been in a long-term relationship at all. That is a red flag. For an adult, that is a red flag.
I ain't gonna hold you in the woman's eyes. Y'all be in relationships when y'all in the talking phase. So y'all be in like 50 relationships. 50 relationships in a year.
You know what? That's perspective.
All right, that's how he's coming.
Because I'm gonna keep it real. You
I gotta keep it real with
we
y'all.
ain't solid. Just know there's other people I'm talking to. So, like, if you want to be here, then
so you're in 50 relationships at once.
Period. I'm not gonna just be committed to you, and I don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, no, we either in this or I'm doing me and you're doing you.
After 2 weeks, right?
Yes. Yes, after 2 weeks. So you find out what you want to do. You let me know. And then
yeah, I don't know. Jumping into a relationship too quick, I don't know. That's a red flag to me. Like, you know what I'm saying, it's like, what's the rush, man? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Mr. Bobby Wright said this proves that women prefer men with experience, whereas men do not with women. But women get mad when we say we prefer women with a small body count. It's not about the shaming women for having sex per se.
Okay, sure. Bobby, man, like, yeah, I think you know, and you know what's
so y'all just be asking women their body count.
Nah,
that's a red flag too.
Nah. Y'all ever had a man just?
What Mario Wonder said? What Mario Wonder said? I don't want to know.
Yes.
I know. Sometimes it shows on a woman. You can tell when some women are like super promiscuous. It's like a stain. It's like smelling a cigarette. You smoke a cigarette.
How? How can you please tell me how? I wouldn't know.
I do not agree with.
You smell like hot sex.
I'm telling you. You ever? Okay, tell me how many times have you
seen? Give away the game right now. Do not give away the game right now.
You haven't seen them smoke a cigarette, but when they walk past, you still smell that shit. That's them promiscuous women. You still smell it.
I disagree.
You know, I know a lot of like promiscuous women that are very shy, though. Like
that was going to be my point. I know a lot of quiet, innocent-looking, promiscuous women.
They're very shy. You know, they don't even date.
Those be the same shy women that say on. I usually don't do this, but I try this way. I hate it's the same. They're shy. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, it's not about. It's more than just hello. I'm gonna say, oh yeah, she's promiscuous. But once you start having it just shows. I'm telling you, a lot of dudes could tell.
Yeah, that I ain't gonna hold you. That's a red flag that I usually don't do this, but then you an expert, like, you know what I'm saying? That's like, all right, wait a second. Something ain't adding up here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so get into this next topic. It says, what are some ways to communicate effectively in a relationship? What do y'all think?
You know what? I've learned that if it's a really, really hard conversation, to do it in public. Because like at home, it's so easy to get emotional and start yelling and going off. But if you're sitting at a nice dinner, like, I'm not going to get ghetto in here. So I'm going to naturally maintain let's do it in public. If I'm at the house, I might just start yelling. And I'm not trying to do that. So we can have a nice conversation.
Men don't like that.
Why do I do it in public for you to have that wherewithal to control?
Most men don't like that, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta be able to control yourself no matter where we at. Like
that's why you have to be with someone that's good at communicating. Because when I communicate with someone and they're not hearing me, or they're turning it all back on me, now we have a problem. I'm not going to deal with a narcissist. You're not going to make this all about me, because then it's going to be a problem. But if you're good at communicating, I shouldn't have this issue. I shouldn't
that narcissist word. Y'all be throwing that shit loosely out there. Narcissists.
Men are narcissists.
And women aren't, and we're not. Oh, please.
No, there are. Listen, I think the main communication issue is that people are always waiting to respond. They're listening to respond as opposed to listening to understand. And that's where the communication issues come in. Because as soon as you tell me, oh, well, this is how I feel about you, I'm already like, well, you. Yep. People do not like accountability. People do not want to take whatever someone tells them.
When you say people,
men and women, people, everyone, this goes both ways. Because yes, this goes, and again, see, the men will be like, yeah, women. No, people in general, across the board. People don't like being told about themselves. They don't like it. So automatically their defenses go up. So once you tell them that they did something wrong or something they did bothered you, their defenses are up. Now they're looking to say, well, last time you did A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. And now we're moving away from what the actual issue was. And now it's just us disagreeing with one another.
And do you know what helps? Do you know what helps with a conversation like that when people are coming at each other? I find that in conversations that I've had with people that I was in relationships with, it always helped when I started off with saying, I know that I can be like this sometimes, and I know it can frustrate you. However, when you do this, it affects me this way. And just always, like, when you're going into a conversation, always be prepared to acknowledge ways that you have contributed to a situation also. It eases people up all the time, because then they're like, oh, wow, like, okay, yeah, it's true. Sometimes I do it this way. And then it just becomes a conversation instead of an argument and a battle on who's more wrong and who's more right, because they recognize that you're able to actually accept where you've gone wrong and you're able to take accountability. It's all about self-awareness. If you're not self-aware, you're never going to be able to have an effective conversation. And both men and women struggle with that. Men think that because women are more emotional, that we cry and this and that, we're not able to have conversations. But men forget that they get angry easily because they have fragile egos, meaning they are also emotional. Men have very fragile, I'll say it again, egos. So talking to men sometimes, it's like you say one thing and it goes out because they're thinking, oh, you're a woman, you're this, that, and the fourth, without realizing how they come across also.
No, I agree with you.
I don't agree with that 100%. I think men can take criticism or constructive criticism more easier than women can. I'm sorry.
It depends. I actually
men get criticized their whole life. From
yeah.
when you were a kid to
but that's what makes them that's what I feel makes them less likely to take it. They get, because, and that's what men will always say, we've had to do this our whole lives. We don't get to do this like women. We don't have a say space like women. So the minute you say something to a man, he's already on the defense without even letting you finish. You could even be agreeing with him. But without even finishing, they're already so defensive.
It's one thing. Who win most arguments in relationship? Women, because men are taught to keep their women happy wife, happy life. That was made for women. Men, shut up. Keep your wife happy. Even if you're wrong, you gotta fucking take.
I've been in relationships where I've apologized and I wasn't even wrong, but I knew just me apologize was just all right, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Just end it. Men want peace.
I don't think men should do that either.
They want resolution.
I don't agree with that. I don't think men should have to suppress their feelings because women won't be able to receive what they're saying. I 100% do not.
That's the reality of it, though. I mean, we know how we are. That's the reality.
Yeah, but that's that's the reality. But that's why we have these conversations. And men, like, this is the thing. We have these conversations all the time about the things that men cannot do. Okay, it's true. Men can't do these things. Okay, what next? Let's make it progressive, because we always go back to what we're not allowed to do. Okay, you're allowed to do that. What's next? What's next?
We got to allow them to be able to do it and receive it and not respond a certain kind of way. We're going to keep having these conversations if we keep responding the same way. So, it starts with us.
Yeah.
Women.
I think your approach to a situation definitely makes a difference, because who you talking to? Like, you're not about to be talking to me any kind of way. So for me, like, sometimes I come across super aggressively and I'm overly sarcastic. So like, my kid's dad would always be like, Trisha, it's not even what you said, it's the way you say it to me. And that's where we have an issue. So I'm like, okay, like, I really, really, really had to work on that, because it was hard. Because my thing is, like, I'm direct. I'm gonna tell you what it is, how I feel, and however you take it, that's your business, not mine. So when he started telling me, like, nah, it's your tone, it cuts real deeply. So I'm like, okay, I really got to work on that if I want to be somebody's wife one day, because I don't want my sons growing up thinking this is how a woman is supposed to talk to a man, and vice versa. So I think the approach really makes a huge, huge difference when you go into a conversation, and you got to be committed to trying to understand the other person. Like, if you got to pray about it first, ask God to soften your heart so you can hear them when they're talking to you, as opposed to listening, and then as they're listening, as they're talking, your adrenaline is rushing, and you like, yeah, I'm about to cut them up, right? Like, that
that wrong and strong, that should stay, heavy on the ladies' side. I ain't gonna hold you that wrong and strong.
I want to say too, not all men were raised to happy wife, happy life. Because I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't had a relationship like that. It's usually like, well, if you don't like it, then leave. I've never had someone say, well, I'm going to do this to make you happy. And I'm not sure if that's a red flag right there, but usually, no, they're not.
It is a red flag.
I want them to do it.
I do believe.
I think the problem. I think a lot of women go into. I think a lot of women go into conversations wanting their feelings validated, and I think men go into conversations wanting their rations to be heard. And then that's where it becomes a big issue, because women are like, I just need you to validate me. And men are just saying, I just need you to understand my point. And then it just goes
back and forth. They want solution. That's it. How can we fix this and not have to talk about it no more? They that simple.
And I think you can have both in a conversation. I think it's okay to validate and say, hey, I understand why you feel that way. I get why that frustrates you. Maybe we could do it this way. But on the other hand, do you see why I'm thinking this way? Can we do more of this and less of that? I think it's okay to do both. But I think sometimes one or the other just wants more of their side to be heard, that they ignore the other person.
I think the major issue that people are forgetting is communication is not something that comes naturally. It's not something that people are born knowing how to do. Having a healthy conversation, that's not something that comes organically to people. If it was not modeled for you growing up, that's not something that you're going to automatically know how to do. Let me get my point across in a manner that's going to have you understand what I'm saying, but also not be offensive to you. That's not something that comes easily to people. I've been with my husband for 13 years. It took us some time for us to get to a point where it wasn't what I say to him, he's automatically defensive. He's saying to me, it took time and effort for us to build that level of communication where it's like, listen, this is what I'm feeling. I need you to understand what I'm feeling. I get what you're feeling. This is where I'm coming from. Let's find that middle ground. Let's find that compromise. And what happens is too often people are like, okay, it's too difficult for us to get this communication going. Forget it. I'm just going to walk away, because people aren't willing to put in that effort. People aren't willing to actually learn how to communicate. And that's why we see so much issues in relationships. So it's not healthy for a man to say, you know what? Okay, you win, because nothing gets resolved. That problem doesn't go away. It just gets put to the back burner until another time. Okay. It's not healthy for a woman to say, okay, well, these are my feelings and you need to validate them. What if your feelings are not valid? What if they're not valid? You're not always right. And that's the problem that people have. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes as the woman, you are wrong. I hate when I have to admit that I'm wrong. Yeah. I hate when I have to admit that I'm wrong. But in order for our relationship and our marriage to be healthy, sometimes I have to humble myself. I know that sometimes I have to humble myself and say, you know what, babe, you're right. You know what, babe, I'll let you have that one. You were right. And as men, it's like you have this ego that men have. And the same thing, people need to learn to humble themselves. I'm not going to say men, people in general need to learn how to humble themselves, because that's where most of this conflict comes from. People are defensive. Okay. Everyone is defensive. Everyone has their guards up. If you are not in a situation where you are comfortable being vulnerable with the other person, you're not going to have healthy communication. So that's where it all stems from. If you're not comfortable being vulnerable with your significant other, your spouse, you guys are not going to have healthy communication, because you're going to think that everything they're saying to you is an attack. And that's from both sides. Everything is going to come off as an attack. Men are just going to be like, men don't like confrontation. That is point blank, period. That is what men don't like, confrontation. So they're going to say, you know what? You're right, babe, just to shut you up. Are you actually right? Maybe not. But he wants you to shut up. He don't want to have this discussion with you. So he's going to say, all right, babe, you got it. And it's not healthy, because it's not going to solve anything.
I think vulnerability, you spoke on vulnerability, and I do agree that men need to learn how to be more vulnerable, especially to their significant other. But I've had conversations, this even happened to me, where in relationships, I have been vulnerable. And then when we had that argument, she using it against me. Like, you get what I'm saying? So now it's like, damn, in my moment of when I was vulnerable, you're not saying I was in your arms crying or nothing, but maybe I might have told you about something that might have affected me in the past. And now here you are using it against me, because, you know, like you always say, women are very good at using their words or their power. Like, you know what I mean? So women know how to get under a man's skin. You say this all the time. So, you know, if I open up to you, this is why some men are very stoic and they don't feel like they want to be emotionally available, because we have had that used against us previously. So it's like, I don't ever want to feel that way. So you know what? I'm going to be stoic. I'm not going to show I'm going to show less emotions, or whatever the case is. Like, you know what I mean? So
I don't doubt men or blame men for not being vulnerable with women. We sometimes use that as like ammunition, and we just sit and wait for the right time when you hurt us bad to use that against you. So we make it kind of hard. We say we want you to communicate and be open and be this and be that, but a lot of the times we don't have a safe space. We don't create a safe space for you to be able to do that and not think it's going to be a repercussion if you piss us off enough. If we get mad enough, we will talk about your mama, your everything, just to gut punch you, because that's just who we are.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And a lot of women
disagree with that only because
I can see that.
I disagree with that only
That's
because
emasculating.
I feel like if you actually respect the person you are with,
take pride in emasculating our man. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So like I said, me and my husband have been together for a long time. I know this man inside and out. We get into, I wouldn't say arguments, because at this point we've kind of passed that argument, but I don't take anything my husband tells me and use it against him when I'm angry, because after the anger calms down, that hurt is still going to be there. You know what I mean? That hurt is not going to go away. So if I take something that my husband has told me in confidence in his moment of vulnerability and use it against him, once that wall goes up, once I throw it at him, he's not going to be vulnerable with me anymore. So if you are actually looking to have a healthy and successful relationship, you're not going to do that to your significant other. That's not something that goes on in my relationship with my husband. And I think a lot of people in the heat of the moment, they don't have that foresight to think, okay, I don't want to do this because this is a temporary situation. This argument is temporary, but our relationship is supposed to be long-term. Too many people, they act off that emotion and they don't use that rational thought that, listen, this is my partner for life. This argument is going to last maybe a day and then tomorrow it's going to be over. But that wound that you inflict from throwing whatever back in their face, that is not going to go away. So they're going to, the rest of the time, yeah, y'all going to be past this argument, but he's also going to remember, oh, let me not tell her that because last time I told her something, she threw it back in my face. So if you as the woman are looking to spend your life with this person, that's not something that you can do. And the fact that we say, oh yeah, that's just something that women do, it's not. It's only something that you do if you have not addressed your own personal issues. Okay,
it's
that's
something a lot of women do.
You don't know. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not something that a lot of women do, because it is, but it's because they haven't addressed the issues that they need to address. So a lot of people get into these relationships prematurely before you have worked on yourself. You cannot be successful in a relationship until you have been successful on your own first. And that's why we see a lot of the issues that we see.
I think that goes back to like red flags and asking important questions in the beginning, because like for me personally, if I'm really, really feeling you, I want to know, like, when you're super pissed off, how do you respond? So if a man were to ask me, like, if I make you so mad and I hurt your feelings, I got you in tears, like, how are you going to do it? And if I'm honest with him, I'm going to tell him, like, I'm going to cut you up verbally because that's what I do. And I need you to know not to do that again. So either she's going to be honest and tell you in the beginning that
she's not going to be honest and say that.
They're going to be honest.
That's the truth.
I have a homegirl.
No, that's the truth.
How she is going to respond. Like, I have a homegirl, she's like that. And so she's a serial dater because of that. Because as soon as she tells a man that at the beginning, of course he don't want to deal with that. Like, are you crazy? But she does it anyway, and that's how she is. So if you're with someone and she's taking your vulnerable moment, weaponizing that, red flag, because she's not going to stop doing that just because she hurt your feelings. Like, you need to think about, is this somebody I can be with long term? Like, can I tell her everything I want to tell her? Can I cry to her if something happens without having to worry about her calling me less of a man later?
And I think it's also like you need to be with people who can emotionally self-regulate. Like, you need to learn how to control your emotions, and I shouldn't have to do anything. Like, learn how to control yourself. If you feel yourself getting too angry, excuse yourself from the conversation and come back when you're ready. People just want to put out all their emotions and just be putting out all this and that and be expecting everybody else to accommodate to that. Absolutely not. Figure it out. If you know you're getting too heated, move away. If you know from a date, this is how you act. When you're getting like that in an argument, why all of a sudden do you forget that you know that if you get angry, you can speak like this? So you know when you're getting to that place, and this is for males and women, whoever, learn how to self-regulate. That's all it is. A lot of people don't know how to do that. They just want to explode and then fix it afterwards. No, like you were saying earlier, like, the damage is done. When you say something that you can't take back, people are going to hold on to that. So that's just what I think it is. And I think, personally, I think men need to start asking more in-depth questions on the first date. You need to start asking women, like, how do you deal with your emotions? Because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes women use emotions to abuse a situation. They will manipulate a man with it. They know that, I've seen this in my own eyes. They know that they are wrong. So what do they start doing? Crying. And then men start feeling bad. And then it turns into him catering to them. Why am I catering to you when you're the one who did something wrong?
Because I want to win. That's why. That's the way to win. Is just to drop the tears.
And that's one thing that I feel like we as women, we are so quick to the waterworks, and then the guy's there comforting you, and then it's just like, damn, like, he can't really get what he has to say out there. You know what I mean?
There's two things that women do to avoid apologizing. There's dropping tears and dropping them underwears. That's the two things that y'all do to avoid saying sorry. I swear to God.
Yeah, I mean that's about accurate. I ain't gonna hold you like I'm saying. Like, oh man, listen, we gonna take a quick break and then we gonna jump back in. Let's get to these super chats real quick, King.
Yes, sir. Joseph Holly said, to me, you got to ask some real solid questions, truly trying to get to know someone. Ask about their childhood, ask about their 5-10 year goals.
Definitely. On the money, Joseph, with that one.
God damn, man. Hold on. Oh, okay. He also said Trish speaking fire out here.
I mean,
verbal abuser.
Dr. Kim Maggie said women tend to interpret men. Hold up. Women tend to interpret, men tend to listen. Is the spaghetti waffle mind theme in effect?
I don't know what that means, but
spaghetti waffle mind theme in effect. I never heard about that.
I don't know the spaghetti waffle, but I know what they mean by women tend to interpret and men tend to listen.
Google that real quick. Go ahead.
If when a man says something, a man will say, "Hey, babe, is that what you're gonna wear?" What a woman is not gonna say. She's gonna hear, "You don't like my outfit." That's what she's interpreting. Okay, that's not what he said. All he did was ask you a question, but you are interpreting it as, "You don't like my outfit." Okay, women are overthinkers. That's just the way our brain works. We analyze things more critically than men do. Okay, men look at things on the surface. Okay, they take things as they are most of the time, whereas women, they're gonna overanalyze. They're gonna pick at it. He just asked me if that's what I'm gonna wear. That means he don't like my outfit. Okay, that means I gotta change. Women like to look in under the surface, where sometimes there really is nothing there to find.
There's nothing there.
How you broke it down.
That was a great analogy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I ain't hold you.
Shout out to Ja Joseph, super chat, and we got last one from Zorro. He said, "How would you explain to Black women that 1/4 woman 25 plus take antidepressants, that they lose 90 of their eggs by 30, and saddest demo of people in the West is 42-year-old woman making 50K, no kids, no family. Most women don't notice."
God damn, some artifacts. So you gonna have to send us the links for that for that facts, man. You gotta check that out. I ain't know all of that.
Yeah.
Taking okay, that's a lot of.
As a mental health care professional who diagnoses and treats these people, I disagree with those statistics.
Which part? All of it?
The quarter, not the percentage of women, but the 42 plus making 50K, no kids. That is the wrong demographic. For the highest percentage of depression, that is the wrong demographic. I'll tell you that right now.
I think he said those are the saddest people, I guess, in the
West, especially on the West Coast.
So when
Black men are actually committing suicide right now at a higher
Does
rate.
he say West Coast, or he's talking about the Western world? I don't think he mean the West Coast, right?
I think he's talking about Western.
I think he means
West in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one more from Ed John. He said, "Why, Eli? Why?" Also, shorty with the British Kerry Hilson can't get it. No kizzy.
Come on, man. Let's be respectful, man. Like, we got some lovely women on the panel. Yo, make sure you hit that like button. I know we got like almost 200 people in here. Make sure you hit that like button. Y'all want us to read any questions y'all got? Make sure y'all send them in the super chat. Yo, go get the merch, Dailyrapupcrew.co, man. We got some quality merch. That's funny as hell. Like, so let me get to this next topic. Actually, you know what? I want to play a video for y'all. And then we come back and react to it. So
society has this really weird obsession with stripping the femininity away from Black women.
All right, look, I'm sure this is going to get me into trouble, but I want to hear everybody's opinion on this. And please understand, I realize I'm making this observation as a white dude. That's why I want to hear everybody else's opinion. So she says that society is stripping away the femininity of Black women. However, throughout my life, I've met very few feminine Black women. Like, seriously, when I think about all the women I've encountered in my life, and I think specifically about the black ones, I can honestly say that there's only been 1 or 2 instances where they've been feminine. The vast majority of black women I've encountered have been brusque and aggressive. And even though a ton of them have been absolutely fucking gorgeous, they were significantly more masculine than they were feminine. In the way they acted, not the way they looked. So my question is, do you think it's society doing it? Or is it just the behaviors of black women in society today?
So I definitely want to get into that. First of all, what's your thoughts? Do y'all feel like society is stripping away?
I honestly think it's, personally speaking, I think a lot of black women are like this based off of how we're raised. I think it starts from at home. I think there's a lot of pressure on us from when we are young. Like they say, who was it, Michelle Obama, that said, black mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. And so I think from a young age, we're taught how to be independent. Like for me, I'm African. And it's like a lot of things is like you have to learn how to do things because you're going to be a wife one day. You're going to be a mother one day. And so there's this pressure of, okay, I have to take care of things. You're naturally built on like, I have to get things done. And that is usually seen as a masculine trait. So I think it starts from that. And then I think it progresses when you start dating and you start meeting men who aren't as masculine, or your idea of masculine, you start to fill that role. So that's just what that's where I think it comes from personally. I don't think it's society per se.
I agree with you, but I also do believe it is society. I feel like black women use masculinity as a defense mechanism. It is like a suit of armor because it is not safe for us in a lot of the spaces that we go into. So in order to protect ourselves from the environments that we're in, we have to be strong. We have to be, and a lot of it also, I think, is the interpretation, because you put a white woman in the same situation, she's assertive, she's not aggressive, okay? But because we're black women, now we're aggressive, now it's masculine. Whereas when it's someone of another ethnicity, she's still feminine, but she's assertive, okay? She's a boss. And I think that's something that is pushed by society, how women are viewed. But yes, black women do have to have this certain sense of masculinity when we're going out into the world, because we have to defend ourselves. We are not safe in a lot of the spaces that we inhabit. And that's the part that people don't look at. They're looking at the effect. They're not looking at the cause. Why are we moving this way? Not because, hey, I just want to go out and be masculine and be aggressive. No, because I need to protect myself, okay? Because a lot of like V said, a lot of girls are raised to be like, hey, you have no one to depend on but yourself, okay? Whether it be trauma that their mother had, grandmother had, someone told them, hey, you need to make sure that you can depend on yourself because you cannot rely on anyone else. So if that's how you're raised, if you're raised to feel like you have no one else to depend on, you're going to be more masculine because you don't know how to give up that control, because you were taught that you cannot give it up to anyone else because you can't depend on anyone else.
But that's the hardest shell to crack. Once I feel like a woman, has that kind of thing going on, how does she take that off? How does she take that coat off?
Yeah, because I don't think it's a on and off switch that women just swear it is all the time. Like, oh, I can turn my femininity on when I meet the right person that can make me feminine. I don't think it's a switch. You know what I mean? I think that's learned behavior, and I think that takes years of whether it's going to see a therapist.
A man would have to accept her as she is at that point.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a switch that you could just turn on and off. Like, you know what I mean?
Whose job is it to fix that if you're going into a relationship?
If we're being completely honest, the feminist movement messed up the black woman completely.
100%.
Hands down. We don't really take like when we point, the feminist movement was never our movement. That had absolutely nothing to do with us. They saw that it was a split in a black family dynamic, and they used it as a way into our households. And so when they use it as a way to our households, then we began to side with government. And because now we became head of households when we were not the head of households in the 1960s and the 1970s, our people were married to one another. And so there's a difference between being masculine and being strong. I believe in going to the gun range. I was in ROTC. I ain't never got beat up before, but it is not my job to be masculine. It's my job to be strong as a woman. And my strength as a woman is defined by my virtue. My strength as a woman is defined by how I can walk into a place and still be feminine, and my femininity will control an atmosphere and get answers way before a masculine nature will. That's how you get killed.
That was a word right there.
Yes. I think like what you said, it really is hard to like take off because like she said, it's a defense mechanism, you know. Like I always have to keep a job. My boyfriend can afford everything and to take care of the family, but what if I want to leave? What if something goes wrong? I need to always make sure I can leave. I can take care of my kids. I can't just be like, well, I'll just let you handle it. Because then I'm wondering like, but what if? You know, you never want to be in a situation stuck with a man because you can't leave. You have no money. Like I have friends like that, and I just told myself that'll never be me. I can never not just work completely because what am I going to do in a situation?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, especially now. You know, black men have been begging our women to be more feminine because the only time we ever hear the words masculinity is coming out of a black woman's mouth. Like we don't hear that term no other time, nor do we hear strong and independent unless it's a black woman feeling the need to parade it around to everybody on the world that they strong, independent, and don't need no man, right? So now I think femininity is so important to men, and we value femininity so much. And at this point, we understand the hardships that black women have had, just like black men have had hardships. But when does that stop becoming an excuse? Because, you know, somebody like myself who has worked hard to make a living for myself, and I want to meet a feminine woman I don't want to, if I'm on a date, I really don't want to hear you say, well, I'm in my masculine, because that turns me off automatically. Like, I don't care. I need you to be a feminine woman because that is something that, you know, I'm attracted to and inspires me and makes me want to.
Can I ask you a question? Not to cut you off. Can I ask you, just to follow up what you just said, what does a feminine woman, can you define that for us? What you consider a feminine woman? What does that look like for you?
I think that's like traits or like behavior. I think that's somebody who's sensitive, who is nurturing, you know, who knows how to express her emotions in a way where it's uplifting and inspiring. I think her appearance, how she presents herself, you know, in public and to her, you know, significant other. I think are traits of femininity. I think it's the energy that you have to, you know, kind of like, I'll use the word inspire, but just has want men to actually do things for you. Like femininity, I think will get women a lot further, especially in relationships, than meeting a man with masculinity. So, you know, I don't think combativeness is necessarily a masculine trait, but when it's overly combative, then that becomes masculine. Because I now feel like you're in your masculine frame and you always want to combat somebody when you don't need to have that, you know what I mean, in a relationship, especially, like, you know. So yeah, so I just, like I said, I really just want to get to this point because I have these conversations with black men and we are absolutely tired of this masculinity. And it's unfortunate because this is a white man. If white men are seeing this and he's saying like, yo, I've never dealt with a feminine, then obviously it's bigger than just the black men. Other men of other ethnicities are now seeing this, and that might turn them off from certain black women. Like, you know what I mean? Because they're women in other communities don't really go around parading how much they're masculine, how much they don't need a man. So, you know, I'm a very big advocate of, you know, the black community, black family, black marriages. But at the end of the day, you know, if you find happiness somewhere else, I can't really fault that as long as it's genuine. But it makes it hard for black women to make themselves available for other ethnic races of men when all they see is this masculine trait, especially on, you know, in the media and, you know, wherever the case is, all they see is black women being masculine. I don't know if that's not a turn on for other men, like just for men in general, like, you know what I mean? So
see, then they'd call us gold diggers though if we sat there and let
Can
a man
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Why do we care what other people think about us? And why do we care about what's going on in other people's communities when our own races, ethnicities, and cultures are so broken? His question was very valid, but I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of sat back like, right message, wrong messenger, because it's not his business. It's the business of the black man to correct the black woman and vice versa. That's how I feel.
You've been trying to do that,
That's
and
how I
y'all,
feel. We
some of
need
y'all don't want to
correction. We need
listen.
to be accountable.
I'm just saying,
Right,
like,
you're 100% right. I just want to know,
have been
why
trying to
do we
communicate
mention
that.
other communities when we're supposed to be fixing home?
Because
The only reason
unfortunately, it seems like black women don't listen to black men. They get it when a white man say it. Unfortunately,
Yes.
And Mariah be spitting though. I ain't gonna lie.
Ooh.
Anybody got any? Yeah, disagree with that or? Okay, I mean,
I think that
I don't
circles
listen
back
to.
around to the
I don't know. I
conversation
can take
of
constructive criticism
communication.
all around.
Monisha, didn't you have a question before?
See, I feel like different men are different, you know. I feel like when I hear you guys talk, I'm like, I don't know, like, where are these men at? You know, because it's not like that for all men. Some men are like, well, if Shardy's not working, like, I'm not just gonna pay all these bills. Like, what, are you using me? Like, some men really think like that. They don't want you to sit there and just be feminine. Some men will take that as, you know, they've dated is people that have used them for money or were with them for the wrong reason. So
I don't think men have a problem with women working as well. You know what I'm saying? We just want you to put in the time to make sure the family's right first. You get what I'm saying? Family first. Especially if I'm handling all the responsibilities, I don't think that should be your main goal on making money if I'm holding the house down, the mortgage or the bills, and you don't have to worry about, you don't have as much of a financial responsibility as I do. Because then I think you should be focusing on making everything else in our relationship easier.
See, and that's scary because that's like for now. Because how do you know that that's going to be long term? Because at any given time, if
At the same time, I never said you couldn't make money.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now it gets to the point where you're making so much money, or you're focused so much, your life is revolved around money. You're now forgetting about the family. So now, if I were to do that, you know, if I say, okay, well, she wants to do all this and she wants to pay the bills, I'm feminine now. You get what I'm saying? I'm less masculine, or I'm not the man, because I'm letting you take my role and I'm doing what I'm helping out on the parts that you're supposed to be doing, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. We need to communicate and make that shit work, rather than you feeling like your money is your money, because my money is not my money. My money's been our money because I've been paying all these motherfucking bills.
Again, that's certain men. There's some men where their money is their money. You know, you gotta.
How could their money be their money if that's the house you living in?
In a relationship?
See, I don't know. Like, to me, that's scary to me. Like, I feel like
I've never seen that.
Yeah, you like in a relationship? You mean? Or what do you mean?
Wait, I don't understand the question.
You say you see men where their money is their money. You talking about in a relationship?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure where y'all came from, or maybe I'm just now I'm feeling like I'm dating the wrong people, because I've never had that experience where his money was the household's money.
You have a boyfriend? Is your boyfriend like that currently?
Not now, but we're 4 years and 2 kids later. In the beginning, yeah, his money was his money. Now we got kids and things, so like. Yeah,
and y'all live together, and his money was his money.
Yes,
and you all live together.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. I'm paying the bills there. I'm paying bills.
Wait. So who's
paying the bills? And that's what I told him. Like, at this point, we're roommates because I'm paying half. I'm paying half of all the bills and taking care of the kids. You know, like our money was totally separate.
I also. Okay, so let's not get confused. He paid half the bills.
Well, when my ex-fiance,
he took on the responsibility as a father. You guys were figuring out your relationship.
What
right? That's still two different things. He's not wrong if they, depending on what their relationship was. You get what I'm saying?
Like,
I'm not gonna throw all my money on somebody that I don't know if are they his kids? Is this his house?
Oh no, they're definitely his kids.
Okay, yeah, so kids. So he is a father, an active father. Mm-hmm. All right, so I mean he's still a father.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I don't know, because I've never been in.
I don't know, because
What Monisha
well,
from?
when me and my ex-fiance were living together, this before I got pregnant with. I'm sorry.
Nah, go ahead.
When I've been in this one situation when I cohabitated with someone, and that's my ex-fiance's, my son's father, and I was dumb because he moved into my apartment, and that's something that should never happen to me as a woman. But he moved in and he paid everything. He handed me over the check. That was just established. That's what I saw growing up. Because you're the man, and that's how things are supposed to run if we're cohabitating. But if you're just my boyfriend, then you're not obligated to pay my bills, and that's a fallacy that modern day have began to propagate.
I agree with that too.
That's husband and
I
wife
avoided
behavior.
that because I didn't live with anybody except my husband. Like, I'm not living with you and you're my boyfriend. Now, if you're my husband, then yeah, that's expected. You know, that's what he'll do because you're his wife.
Yeah, and like, just to stay on the femininity topic, is just men can spot a feminine woman. Like, she don't even have to say anything. It's just her energy. The minute she walks into a room, a guy could feel that she has this feminine aura surrounding her, and that is what has always attracted men to women. Like, you know what I mean? So now that we have this era, like, it's like, when do we stop making excuses? Like, when are women going to start prioritizing femininity again? Is that something that's going to happen, or do women feel like femininity is a form of weakness? Like, we do have these conversations where women be like, oh, like, they feel like femininity is a form of weakness, which is why they embrace their masculinity so much. And it's like, when are we going to get to this point where women can just get out of that, like, that energy? And I had a conversation with, a woman who was married, and she's always been a feminine woman, like, you know what I mean? And she works, you know what I mean? Her husband works, and she never once ever felt like she had to be masculine because she worked. Like, she always presented herself as a lady, as a feminine woman. It didn't matter what she was going through in life. She always presented herself as a feminine woman. So the fact that we have this excuse, like, oh, I have to work, you know what I mean? I'm working 2 jobs, so I can't be feminine. I just think the excuses at the end of the day, like, you know?
And not to make an excuse, is it how some women are raised? Because a lot of women say they didn't learn that until they got into a relationship with a man that taught them. So I want to understand that from a woman as well, if you guys could break that down.
So you saying a man is supposed to teach a woman femininity?
I mean, even when we had that episode in Atlanta, she said a man taught her how to
accountability,
hold accountability and be feminine.
No, that's true. In my younger days, I did have a boyfriend that taught me certain things about being a woman, about going to get my eyebrows done or shaving my legs, or like just different things that I didn't learn in my house that he did teach me. And then I just, I kept that and I use that to this day. A lot of the things that he taught me, but a man can teach you. A man can definitely teach you what femininity looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's like a safe place. Because I've had people, men teach me that too, especially with communication. I had one relationship where if I yelled and I argued, he was going to snap back. In my current relationship, if I start yelling, the conversation's over, and he'll tell me respectfully, like, I'm not going to talk to you right now until you learn, to talk respectfully. And then that's something I finally learned. Like, I'm never going to get him to hear me if I, snap like that. So it could be taught in some ways.
Mm-hmm. And I think that circles back around to the vulnerability. If you're in a situation with a man where you feel comfortable, you feel like you can, bask in your femininity, because as a woman, you are feminine, like you are feminine in nature. You know what I mean? So it takes effort to be that masculine character. You get what I'm saying? So when you guys say, oh, like it's a switch, it's not always easy to turn it off. But it's not that difficult because it's not natural for us to be masculine. You know what I mean? When me and my husband interact, he naturally takes the lead. That's my husband. You know what I mean? He is the masculine energy and I match his energy because that's how the dynamic goes. So we need to understand that a lot of it happens because women are not, they're afraid. It's a like I said, it's a coping mechanism. If you don't feel comfortable with the man that you are with, if you don't feel like he's going to provide for you, if you're constantly worried, like, okay, he's about to get up and leave and I'm going to be left to take care of myself, you're not going to give into that femininity because you're on guard all the time. So if you're providing a safe space where she feels comfortable, she feels nurtured, she feels that she's able to be vulnerable, she can bask in that femininity. It's not a difficult thing for a woman to be feminine because that is our nature. So it goes against our nature to
I don't
be
understand how you're saying that's our nature, but then you're giving specific rubrics of how I can be. If he provides me a safe space, if he does this, then
gotta unlock the cheat code.
Yeah, it's like he got to unlock your femininity. Like men are not telling women. Yeah, it's like men are not telling women, well, if you are submissive, if you cooperate, if you do this, and then I will be masculine. Like, you know what I mean? It's not something I got to unlock.
We don't got a choice.
Why should we have to unlock it with women?
That's
you
false.
It's natural.
That's false. Men say it all the time. Well, she got to be submissive. She got to do this. She got to do that. Men have their requirements. They do it all the time.
No, that's a requirement to provide, not to be masculine.
But what I'm saying is, women are naturally feminine. So what I'm saying is, you want them to take off this facade that they're putting on, okay? But you have to. Why are they putting on the facade? Why is the facade being put on? Okay, it's not that, oh, she's just masculine. No, she's playing this role for a reason. Why is she playing this role? Okay,
because she was taught by her mother and her fathers that she needs to depend on herself. She don't need a man.
Okay, so if she now comes into a situation, that's what she was taught. She was taught you don't need a man. You don't have to depend on a man. You can provide for yourself for whatever reason, right? So now she comes into this situation where first of all, when you are entering a situation, you're meeting her most likely in this masculine phase, right? If you come into the situation with this woman and she's like, and she is this way, and you're like, listen, you don't have to do that. I got you. That's it. I'm not saying you have to prove a point to her. You don't have to do this. I got you. Right away, if you give her that sense of security, of course, automatically her guards are not going to go down, but you're already putting her at ease. Okay, so you can't automatically say, hey, well, she should just automatically be this way that I expect her to be. But if you are a masculine man, you're coming in this way already. Hey, relax, I got this. Okay, so now her guards are coming down and you continue to show her consistency. She is going to be feminine for you. She's gonna, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's in our nature. The masculine women that you are seeing, that is not the norm. That is not what they are. That's not what our bodies are made to do. Okay. That is not what our bodies are made to do. It is.
That's how we would want it, but I don't think that's the reality of it for most men. That's not what we're seeing. That's not what we're feeling at all. That's not what we're feeling. That's not what we're seeing. You know,
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I think a level of finances depletes all this hard work that you're talking about. Like, if a nigga is flashing cash, all that shit, all that hard work of proving and showing that shit out there. I could be the most disrespectful motherfucker on the planet and throw some money and she's shutting up. You get what I'm saying?
Then I don't know what kind.
They out here.
I'm not saying they not. But is that the kind of woman that you want?
Right? I found it so common for me to manipulate women, take advantage of women as a disrespectful man, and as a more respectful person that I am, I can see women being more aggressive to a guy that's more approachable, respectful. So I got more out of women being disrespectful than being respectful.
And I think that's where some women can equate masculinity to men. This is why you see some women in our community be so attracted to the thugs and the hood dudes, and because they associate that overly aggressive nature with masculinity. You know what I mean? So if you as a woman already are operating your masculinity, you need somebody who's going to be overly masculine for you to be like, feel like, oh, well, okay, I got to submit to him, or I got, you know what I mean? So I think that's why some women get caught up in this whole, and he got to be from the hood. He got to have, you know, he got to be this, that, and he got to be a thug. Like we had an episode where a woman talking about, you know, she's attracted to guys that look like they're gonna go to jail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is uncommon. This is very common in our community, unfortunately, because women have been fed this, oh well, this man has to be a certain stereotype or prototype in order for me to consider him as a masculine equal or more masculine or somebody I could submit to. And the guys that's not doing that lifestyle, not participating in that lifestyle, it seems like we're being met with more resistance from women. Now we got to go, now we got to yell at you or choke you out or do something crazy for you to be like, damn, this nigga really serious about me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, men don't want to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, see, that's definitely not all women.
It's
because
not all women.
Yeah, like you raise your voice with me, I'm already that's too much, And also, not all women are taught that. Like my parents, they're still married, so from my perspective, I'm assuming that's how it should be. My dad worked his whole life. My mom has never worked, but honestly, like I'm the only one out of all of their kids that work, and my dad kind of looks at me like, why he ain't paying all the bills, and I'm like, Dad, it's a whole nother world. Not every guy is you. I can't just this man, I don't know, this man's gonna take care of me like you took care of mom. This is a whole nother world out here, so I'm sorry. I'd love to be a housewife, but then again, I'm a little smarter than that because I need to be able to provide for myself. It's scary out there.
But can I ask you a question?
Do you think you would be that scared if he was your husband and not your boyfriend?
So
it's funny that you say that because I wouldn't, and that's the thing. We're 4 years in, and he's not my husband. I tell him that, like, you ain't related to me. Like, these are our kids, but you're still kind of a stranger to me. Like, none of this is promised, So I'm not gonna ever be comfortable because this is all a game. My dad calls it playing house. We're playing house. Okay, so until like this is solid, then no, we playing house, and I'm gonna do me just in case. That's it. I have to, and it's about respect too. Once you start taking care of me, I respect you enough to be feminine. But in the meantime, I don't got time for that. I got household. I got other stuff to do. Once I respect you, sure, that's fine. But right now, we're not there. I'm not.
You can still go to work and still take care of the house and still be.
How
feminine.
is femininity an option?
Yeah, that's natural.
Yeah, I'm confused as to how being feminine is an option. You're a woman. That's not an option.
Well, men have been saying,
So
like,
if women
like,
put on a role, that means that most women are being liars and have to decide when you're being feminine. So you have
that could be true.
It's a duality
Take
that's
that
going
shit
on.
away, and we're gonna call you back in 6 months. That ain't gonna have a ring.
We'll see.
I'm telling you.
We'll see.
Yo, feminine women make men
win.
Like crazy, like feminine women make men do like things that they wouldn't do like normally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the most feminine women will have guys doing
in 6 months.
Yeah, like they would have men eating out the palm of your hands if you were just more feminine. Like, you know what I mean? I truly believe that. Like,
didn't you say you was getting his work clothes ready?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So like I have a little less respect the fact that I'm doing all these wifely things and have been for some time. And then you expect me to just be all like lovey-dovey to you? Like, no, sir.
Is that the attitude that you have with him, like you have right now?
Period.
Is that the attitude that you have with him that you have right now? Like,
yes,
is that
that's part of the problem.
That's why the sandwiches aren't working.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I think,
and she did say she don't got an indoor voice. You know what I mean? When they
No, it's not even the loudness because I'm loud, right?
Yeah,
it's not the loudness. It's the body language, and I'm not doing it. Like all of that is taken into account, and he's looking at all of that.
Listen, I'm not an advocate. Like, I very much still believe in a nuclear family of black women and black men, and we're gonna get to that later. But what I'm hearing from some black men, is that black men have been raised to have to deal with black women in a specific way, right? So when they do date interracially, they are being met off the bat with femininity, and they are much more catering to men, and men feel much more appreciated. I'm not saying all men. I'm not saying this happens with every single situation, but some men are feeling more appreciated by other ethnic groups of women because they don't have to hear I'm masculine because I had to do X, Y, and Z. They're getting femininity up front, and to them it's so refreshing because they're not used to dealing with a woman who has lived in her femininity. And I understand black women have a very different and unique experiences from other ethnic groups of women, but that doesn't change the fact that you know, some black men feel like they are being more appreciated by other ethnic groups of women. You know what I mean? I'm like I said, I don't advocate for that because I still very much believe in a black woman and the black family. You know, I'm gonna marry a black woman. You know what I mean? But I can hear both sides of the spectrum. Even when black women say the same thing about when they date, you know, non-black men or whatever the case is, I could hear both sides without getting offended or feeling like it's an attack against me. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on that specific sentiment? Like, do you guys understand men's frustration when it comes to, I guess, dealing with the black women in their community?
I think a few aspects play into it. When we think about it, we've been through the most struggle. So we one another, we mirror each other. It's easy to go outside of that which you mirror to find some type of solace and solitude. To be I have been so far removed from our culture. We've been removed from the Eastern world. We've been forced over here. So we're stripped away from everything that we know, and we have adapted an ideology that never belonged to us. We never had to fight for power amongst our men. We always had a certain type of role. So when we began to go outside of that which we look like to find peace, to me, that's just my opinion. I feel like a lot of fetishes and certain things go into a lot of interracial dating. I feel like you can find love, you can date whoever it is that you want to date. But when you find the need to go outside of that which looks like you to find some type of love or find some type of peace, that's a self issue.
Yeah, because I mean, I know I could probably have easier relationships if I go find some white man, but I'm not going to. You know, I'm gonna work it out with the black man. That's just it. That's just.
But why do you assume it's easier?
Because white men and white women, they're kind of taught the roles. Like, it's same with Asians and Latina women. Their mom teaches them to find a man that can provide.
You don't think white men do the same? And that's another issue I have. Yeah, some black women put these other non-black men on such this high pedestal, like they don't do the same things to their women that y'all complain that black men do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And where you basing this information off of? And let me ask you a question: if you was dating a white man, would you be yelling when y'all having a disagreement?
That's something I don't think I would ever experience that, because that's too strange for me. Not that I'm racist, but I would never be in that situation. I'm just being honest. I don't know the answer to that because that wouldn't happen.
Okay.
Answer is no. Like, you know
what I mean? I'm hearing no as well, man. Yo, Mr. Bobby Wright said black men fix themselves, black women fix themselves, not the others' responsibility to fix others' mental health. Agree, man.
I agree.
We should all come into a situation healed. Like, it shouldn't be hard,
man. It sound good, but let me get into this next video real quick that we're gonna react to. But it kind of correlates with the same thing. So
I could go into heavy detail, and I will.
Okay, no, but let's talk about it. For generations, black women have been taught independence out of a trauma response and a means to survive. So I completely understand why it is this way. But I think as a way to cope with this trauma response and survival tactic, we turned it into an identity and something for us to brag about. And in my opinion, when you begin to view your independence as a self-identifier as well as something to brag about to other people, that's when you enter the world of hyper-independence. And I'm saying this as a black woman who experienced being hyper-independent for years. So trust me, I understand why we turn out this way. People don't come through for us. Society is unrealistically hard on us. And a lot of times it feels like we're the only one that we can depend on. But I know for me, what started off as a means to survive quickly became the thing that sabotaged so many things for me. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to be independent, but is your level of independence helping you or harming you?
Jeez. Send that one to me. I gotta send that to some links.
So I literally did a live on TikTok yesterday called Hyper Independence in Black Woman, Goal or Coping Mechanism, because we make it seem like we're doing it because, oh, I'm just independent. We have branded it to be something like that, and that's not where it came from. We are, like I said, that is not organic to us. It's a trauma response, okay? And we can trace that back generations to slavery. Your husband is sold to another plantation. You are here by yourself with these children. You got to be independent, or that's the slave master's baby. You have no man to depend on. And people don't take into consideration epigenetics, okay? Whatever trauma you experience is now passed on to your children, and that gets perpetuated, okay? That gets perpetuated. And I think it was Jacolia who said before, 60s and 70s, the Black family was solid, okay?
We were the most married. They were the most married in America.
We were a solid community. And then look at the 80s. We had the crack epidemic come in. We had like that women's rights movement. The women's rights movement was failing with white women. So they went and said, hey, Black women, don't you feel that you're being oppressed by your men? Don't you feel like you're being oppressed by your men? We weren't, because we were in harmony. Black women and Black men. And I think the difference and the reason this happens, I know this is, a little bit off topic, is the issue was Black women and Black men were partners. We were in it together. It was like, listen, captain, co-captain, we were in it together. Whereas white women were seen as subservient to white men. White men did not consider white women equals. Black men and Black women were equals. We were in that struggle together, and that's why we were successful. But white women, they were not seen as equal. A lot of these other races that men say that they're going to because they're not having this, is because those women were not taught that they were equal to men. They were taught that they were subservient to men. And that's why it seems easier to be with them, because they're not gonna give you any conflict. They're not gonna go against anything that you say to them. Whereas Black women at that time, when we were a solid unit, we were a team. It wasn't my husband is telling me what to do. No, we make decisions together. We are a partnership. And once that fell apart, that's where we see this rise of the hyper independent Black woman. Because again, you can be an independent woman and still be very feminine. The masculinity comes from the hyper independence, which is where it becomes toxic. Okay. Independence is not a problem. You can be independent and be feminine and be perfectly fine, because as an independent woman, you are going to come into situations where you meet a man and he is matching your energy, and y'all are going to be cohesive. Y'all are going to work out just fine. But when you are hyper independent, you are putting up that wall. You are putting up that barrier. And I think that's more so where we see that masculinity that these men have an issue with. So it's more so, yes, 100%. Hyper independence, that masculinity is definitely causing significant issues in the community.
I appreciate what you just said.
So again, I want to get to the point where, and I think that's where maybe some Black men feel like betrayed by our women, because women understand the struggles that Black men have gone through, whether it's, like you said, the crack epidemic, whether it's through mass incarceration, whether it's through a variety of things, the issues that's exclusive to Black men. But it's like, well, you know what I mean? Oh, well, like, you know what I mean? I'm independent. Yeah, I know y'all got these struggles, but at the same time, I still want y'all to acknowledge Black women's struggles, because we have been through a lot, but it don't really seem like y'all acknowledging the struggles and the stripes of Black men in America, because it's almost like I just don't care at this point. And it makes us feel some type of way that y'all chose to go with the white woman and be on this feminist, because now it seems like y'all lead it. Y'all the forerunners of the feminist movement right now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Black women are the logo for Independence clothing line. I'm telling you.
It's like y'all the one waving the flag for independent feminism now, and it's like Black men are feeling like, yo, we've never been, like you said, we've never been in a position to, oppress you guys. Like, you know what I mean? So why are you guys now turning your back, even when you got the government coming in and providing?
Yeah, with the government. They rather not have a man in the home than to build a family. They like, yo, I need my government assistance. I need this.
So it's like I said, I don't want to put the blame on either or, because we both have unique struggles, and you know what I mean? But it does feel like you guys have chosen a side, and you have chosen the side of independence and boss woman, and I'm gonna choose my career. Like, you know what I mean? And men are feeling like, yo, we want to build families. You know, we have women on the show. Yo, do you want to get married? Do you want to build a family? No. You know, I want to chase my career. Like, you know what I mean? So men are feeling like, all right, we got to go outside of our women to find women that want to be married, or want to be feminine, or want to take care of, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's tough, and it's more of a conversation than this live stream. But I just wanted your thoughts. And why do we teach our people interdependence? Is that like a bad thing? Like people don't even know that word exists anymore. Like, at all. Like, you know what I mean? So when are we going to get to the point? We got the independence. We understand black men can be independent. We understand black women can be independent. But when are we going to teach each other interdependence? So, when are we going to get back to that?
I think when our community starts going to therapy, that's where it starts, because everybody is acting out of trauma. So like if you don't know these things, or if you don't know how to correct it, it's going to be a long struggle, but amongst both parties. We really, really need therapy.
That goes back to what I was saying. Like, you gotta come into a relationship healed. Like, you can't come into a relationship expecting somebody to heal you, because that's just gonna add stress.
I think interdependent with.
Go ahead, Jacolia.
I'm sorry. I think we can become more interdependent when we acknowledge that we actually need one another. And we walk around. I don't need a man, or I've never heard a black man say that he don't need a woman. I've never heard that. I always hear it coming from black women. So when we figure out that the black man is a necessity in our lives, in our households, whether it's a father, a husband, a brother, an uncle, that's the only way we're going to get back to interdependence, because it is a trauma response. But until we be able to identify that the black man is the closest thing to God, and that without him we would not be who we are, which is powerful, equally yet different, we will never be able to be interdependent, because we're so hyper focused on ourselves.
You know why that's going to be so hard, especially with these young women growing up? You got movies like Woman King. You got movies like Black Panther, where it's supporting roles of women being more masculine than men. With name one white movie where the white woman is the man, the boss, the king, the emperor.
I mean, the closest they got is Wonder Woman. Like, that's about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
I mean, ain't a whole bunch of niggas listening to us.
Wonder Woman is out there in a miniskirt.
They're like, what up?
Okay?
Like, she's still out there in the mini.
When Batman speaks, she's still like, okay.
But that's what's promoted to us. That's what they promote to us. It's not by accident. It is all very intentional, because one of the biggest lies told to the black community is that therapy is for white people. Because if we don't heal our trauma, if we don't reconcile our issues and get better, we don't get to succeed. So one of the biggest lies, they'll say, oh no, that's for white people. Why would it be for what? Clearly it's working for them. If if their relationships are healthy, if they are succeeding, clearly something is working. But we're told that it's a sign of weakness. We're told that that's not something we need. And it does so much damage, which is why now we're seeing a lot more people addressing their issues so that they can be a more complete person. You can function once you address your personal issues. You're able to function better in a relationship. And
how many black therapists was that really like that growing up? How many black? We're just now, I think, getting into that space of therapists and therapy. But growing up, number one, that's expensive as hell. None of our parents could afford no therapy. And number two, you wasn't going to find no black therapist like that. You know what I mean? So you don't want to go to no white person to express all your issues. You know what I mean? So I think now we have the resources, and there's a lot more people that's certified and went to school for that, and they could treat it. But growing up, we didn't really have those resources like that, and it definitely wasn't affordable, because ain't nobody paying. Insurances wasn't covering it. And nobody paying no $100 an hour for you to sit down and talk. You gonna talk your issues with me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do think it's black women's job to switch the narrative of how a black woman should be or inspire to be, because it's hard for a young woman to listen to a black man tell them their role or their job, or how to be a strong, beautiful black woman, whether you're interdependent or independent, and when to do that and how to do that. Because I just think it's so important for us to be in their lives to change that narrative. And with media taking control of that, we ain't winning that battle, clearly.
Thanks. Bobby Ray said, thank you for all the respectful conversation.
My daddy would always give me that correction. Like I was saying, I'm fine.
You kept it respectful. Great representation of us. Last comment, LOL. Go ahead, Jacolia.
You said your dad gave you that?
So when it comes to a man, yeah, what I was saying earlier before my computer messed up, my parents were married for 36 years. And before my mother passed away in 2021. So I saw that balance between man and woman. And like I was saying, my mom got 3 degrees, and on her funeral, we graduated her with her doctorate degree. That was her 4th degree in pastoral counseling and case management. She worked for Chicago Public Schools. I had a double major in nursing and psychology. My daughter is going to school right now for psychology. When I was mentioning earlier the role of a man, my father would tell me often, when me and your mother get into it and she does this, that, other, when you get married, don't do that with your husband. And my mother would come back and tell me why, if I should not have done, or this is, don't allow a man to do X, Y, and Z. My father molds me. If I have a question about how to handle and how to deal with the man in a certain aspect, I sat at the foot of wisdom with my mother and with my grandmothers, but there's something about having a father that makes me more alive and makes me more balanced than most. And that's the healthy aspect that the Black man begins to apply in the household.
I definitely agree with that 100%. But I'm referring to, I mean, in my community growing up, I don't know how many fathers I saw in my neighborhood. You get what I'm saying? So with the lack of, having both parents in the household, I'm looking at the aspect of there only being majority mothers raising children, and that part, of saying, oh, you got to be independent, was heavily taught at a certain time. And now, it's damn near, I know we had kids having kids, but that shit is like triple the number nowadays. You get what I'm saying? So it's even harder to get that through. So I feel like at this approach, before I give up on the generation, because there's women that's 35-year-old with a mindset of a 22-year-old that still need help from another woman that's her age. So with men telling women like, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that, it might be more impressionable if it came from a woman that looks like her. Because at this point, an average man or a regular man can't make that approach or that connection to her mind where she can understand like, yo, maybe I am doing something wrong. So I do need Black women to be active and vocal with other Black women so they can understand that we're not trying to hurt you. And,
they call us pick-me's and mammies.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that I'm a pick-me, Aunt your mama, I'm a mammy, I'm everything but a child of God. We try.
I'm a pick-me, I'm a mammy.
Yeah.
All the time.
I think a lot of women, and that's what it is. The minute you say something that is balanced, women will start calling you a pick-me. If you were not on the side of the women, then you are. It doesn't matter what you're saying. You could be saying something so fair that could help both sides, and they will call you a pick-me. I made a video one time talking about I think it was men need to respect themselves in the sense of like, you need to be with women who respect you too, and if they don't, respect yourself and leave type thing. And someone commented, why are we talking about Black men? We should always be talking about things that are going to help Black women. And I was thinking, how are we ever going to be with a healthy Black man if we don't have these conversations with them? At the end of the day, a lot of us want to be with Black men, but then we complain when they act a certain way. We don't want to have these conversations. I just think it's toxic. It's very
That's
toxic.
because Black women are now above being held accountable. Somewhere in translation, they are you could no longer hold them accountable. And they want you to follow this girl code where you blindly just agree with them and go along with what they're saying.
Yep.
I think for so long, women have supported women no matter what. Like, I know on a lot of our shows, it's like, no matter what, I'm gonna stand by women. You know what I mean? Or what she did, it don't matter. It don't matter. So when another woman comes at them now, it's like, yo, you're not part of the woman code. Like, who are you? You a pick me. Like, you know what I mean? Stop talking.
What I feel about that is the same way I feel like with relationships in public, 100% women support women, definitely. But at the same time, if we out, I'm not going to call you out and try to make you, try to embarrass you in front of people. But behind closed door, I'm going to be like, hey, sis, I know this is what you're feeling, but maybe you need to look at it this way. And I think that's what we need more of, women correcting each other behind closed doors. Because when we do it on these platforms, when we do it on these platforms, it causes conflict. When we do it on these platforms, it causes conflict. And that's why people don't listen. Just like we said, the way we communicate, if you're saying something in a manner that people are not going to be receptive to, their barriers are going to go up.
Women
so if you call somebody out on a social media platform, they're not going to listen to you. It's not going to be a productive conversation.
That's fine. They don't have to. But I'm going to check you, right?
I agree with that. The goal is to get
I'm
your
not one
point.
of them. I agree with like you go know I go hire people. I'm not that. I'm not.
But then you go. But then we lose the goal. We don't get to the goal of getting them to understand.
But
our black men are telling us that they want our help to get other black women to understand. Our black men just told us that's what they need from us. They need us to help other black women understand. The goal, it shouldn't matter that, well, that's not how I am. Your goal should be to achieve the outcome. The best way to achieve the outcome is to do so in a manner that is going to get the point across.
If I can have a conversation with you in private and feel that it could be effective, absolutely. But if I feel that you just up here saying stuff just because, I'm going to meet you right there. So that's just how I operate.
Yeah, but how do you find? And how is that how has that helped you? How is that effective? What has that done? Has that changed this situation?
It's really effective because I have a lot of conversation. Because again, if you can't tell, or if you didn't know about some of the things that I said, I'm an Israelite. So I get a lot of women who want to do the walk. In public, they say this, I check them, but they're in my inbox, and I am shalom, sis. And then afterwards, I am counseling them on how to be a virtuous woman. So it works. Sometimes you have to let people know this is not a game. And I'm not playing with this is life or death. This is not that little, well, they're saying that this is life or death if we are not in sync with our men. And they need to understand that, period. So again, I meet you where you are. You meet me respectfully, same thing. I'll give that back. You come for me, I'm coming right back. That's just what it is. Because they're nasty. They're mean. They're bitter. They're mean-spirited.
And I think they get so much.
I just feel like regardless.
Go ahead, Coach B.
I understand that, sometimes you have to be very direct with people. But me personally, I'm not in the business of like arguing with you. I will say what I have to say. And if you're going back and forth and you're being all hype and this and that, then we're not going to get anywhere progressive. Like for me, I'm all about solution. I'm all about like an effective outcome. Me yelling and going back and forth with you and meeting you at your energy is not going to work. If I'm being calm and that's not helping, what's me yelling going to do? What's me bashing?
Make me feel better. It makes me feel better.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Yes, and I think that sometimes we just want to feel better, but at the end of the day, we have a goal that we are trying to achieve.
And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just about you. And that's why when you're coming to conclusion, it's not just about you. It's for the greater good of the situation. So sometimes it may be that, yes, sometimes you may have to be a little bit more stern. Or maybe you have to humble yourself a bit more. Whatever it takes to achieve the greater good of the conversation. You know what I mean? So
yeah, everybody's not going to get it, right? Yeah. It's like throwing spaghetti on the wall. Some going to stick, some going to fall. And the ones that stick are the ones that I focus on. The other ones, they just going to get run over in the process.
Why are we?
That's our ministry.
I just feel like if Black women can get online and show their natural Black behind, then there's nothing wrong with me making a video holding you accountable for your actions. You can be moved on in that. If you talk about free and you could do all of these other things, then if I'm making a video on a public platform calling you out on your bad piss poor behavior, that is my job. If I'm telling you I've done this and I've done that, why do I have to talk to you privately if this is something that's being talked about publicly? We pacify women
Yeah.
too much, and I don't believe in pacifying
I think
spirits
it's
because spirits are
situational. It's
transferable,
situational.
and that's how these personality traits and this domineering end up getting passed down from generation to generation because we're afraid to check people where they stand
That's
at.
right.
If we were still over back in the kingdom, all of us would be worthy of death. All of us would have been stoned a long time ago. So if we're afraid and so sensitive about being checked, why don't we kill ourselves with some more modesty and some more decorum, but we're afraid of being called out? That's hypocrisy at its finest. If we're going to use the platform for our detriment, then we need to use the platform to build us up.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between calling people out and bashing someone, right? Like, I 100% agree. You can have a conversation or you can make a video and point out the things that we need to be doing as Black women, the things we should work on as Black women. I'm not going to come out and bash you. In private or in public, I'm not going to bash you, but I will let you know, hey, these are some things that you need to work on. This is not right. But I don't think bashing is something that is not, how is that going to help anybody?
Let me ask y'all a question. What do y'all think is the image right now of Black women, and what do y'all think is the image right now of Black men? What do y'all think is the images right now going on with Black men and Black women? Like, I'll give you an example. For me, I think the image of the Black woman is the strong, independent, sexually liberated. You know what I mean? Shaking my ass on the camera because I'm sexually liberated. It's my body, my choice. You know what I mean? I see that obviously in the media. I see that plastered more in the media and in society. Not saying that's all Black women, but I think that's what some people might consider the image of the Black woman nowadays, right? Somebody who's strong, independent, don't need no man, and who is sexually liberated, and it's her body, her choice. What do y'all think the image right now of Black women is?
Oh, I think Black women are over sexualized. I think that Black women are being portrayed as well, we don't have any emotions. Like, it seems like we don't care about anything outside of ourselves and what will benefit us. I think that Black women are portrayed as not being able to be wives and mothers. Like, we are just to be, boss chicks on somebody's arm, just acting like we're living this luxury life. Like, I think we are no longer seen as traditional in any sense of the word. We're very worldly now.
I think we're very worldly now.
Okay. So I was going to say, I think that there are two different portrayals of Black women right now. You see the boss Black woman who, this is the one, she don't want to get married. She don't want to have no kids. She's career driven. And that's all she's focused on is her career. She's successful. She's, making her money and she is doing, her own thing. And, that's where we see a lot of that hyper independence. And then I think we still see a lot of she's a hood rat. A lot of baby daddies, a lot of kids, living off government assistance. I think those are the only two images that the media pushes. One, either end of the spectrum. She's either extremely successful to the point where it isolates her from being around, being with a man, or she is, with so many men, so many kids, so many different fathers, and dependent on the government. Those are the only two images that the media is pushing of Black women right now.
Mm-hmm. Let me get the Trish.
I think that
hold on, Coach. Let me get the Trish. What do you think is the image right now of Black women? And we're gonna circle around to Black men as well. So, what do you think the image right now is of Black women?
I agree. Like, I think we are. I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, I do think that we're portrayed as not needing anybody. Like, regardless of who you are, I make my own table. I set my own table. Either you bring something to the table or I'm going to just see you around. So I feel like that image is really out there. And then also, like, she can't do anything for herself. Like, she needs help from everybody, whether that be the village, whether that be the government, whether that be from a man who's willing to give her $40. Like, she just needs somebody. I don't think there is necessarily a positive image of Black women out there. And I feel like the positive Black women who are trying to push us forward in regards to wanting to be married, wanting to have family, can still have a career, don't necessarily need to depend on anybody, but we do understand what a man brings to the table and why we need them. Like, I think we're really portrayed as being unwilling to be submissive when that's not the case at all. Like, a lot of women will be submissive to a man worth submitting to, but there aren't a lot of men, in my opinion, there aren't a lot of men who have gone to therapy to deal with the trauma, to know how to be a man worth submitting to. So instead, he'll get in a relationship and now you breaking my heart because I remind you of your mom. So now I don't want to be with another man because of everything I've experienced. It's just a cycle, like just a cycle that continues going on and on and on. We worry so much about what society thinks about us instead of addressing whatever it is at home. And I think that goes back to growing up. A lot of us heard like, what goes on in my house stays in my house. So as a result, like, you couldn't reach out for help. So now as a Black woman, I'm struggling and I need help, but I can't reach out for help because that makes me weak.
So what would you say is the image of Black men?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about that, honestly. Like, I think Black men now, from what I'm seeing, like, they are attempting to be emotionally vulnerable as opposed to emotionally constipated. Like, they want to set the world down. They want to take that S off their chest every once in a while. They want to be safe with you, but they can't because you don't know how to handle that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings on how the Black man is viewed, but positively from what I'm seeing, I do feel like Black men are trying to be better men than their fathers that walked out on them or didn't show them how to be the right type of Black man to have a successful family.
Okay. So
now,
sorry.
go
ahead. No, go ahead.
When you ask how Black men are viewed, do you mean how Black men are viewed by Black women or how Black men are viewed by society? Because those are two different things.
Those are two different things. Those are, that's a good question. Both, I guess. Like,
Can you break both of those down for us then?
Because
start with Black women first. With
Black women, and see, it's not monolithic because the way I look at Black men, see, I'm married to a Black man. I had Black men in my life my entire life. So the way I look at, I love Black men. Okay, Black men are kings. That's the way I look at them. So my perspective of a Black man is going to be different than a woman who has only had negative experiences with Black men. So some
just living off of what their mother's history.
And I was going to say, sometimes it's just passed down. So a lot of Black women see Black men as unreliable. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. He's unreliable. He's going to come. We're going to have these kids. He's going to up and leave. And that's what a lot of Black women see Black men as unreliable. Now, again, like she said, narratives are changing. Okay. We're seeing a lot more Black fathers in the home. We're seeing a lot more Black men being, active in relationships. So definitely narratives are changing. But when you look at what society is showing you, society is only going to show you Black men going to jail. And the only Black men who are not going to jail are rappers. Okay. Black men are uneducated. They're going to tell you that Black men are uneducated. They're going to tell you that Black men are criminals. Or if they're not a criminal, if they're successful, that means it's because they're a rapper, they're a musician.
Or they're
and outside of the community, that is all they portray Black men as.
Coach, what about you? What's your thoughts?
V. I agree.
I was about to say you want to do the mannequin challenge.
No, I agree. I do agree. But I feel like I also feel nowadays Black women are trying to change the hyper independence. From what I've seen, I feel like that's where the whole soft life comes in. That's where the whole like princess treatment comes in. It's like now I want to be less of that, and I want to step in more into my femininity because I see the benefit of it. And with Black men, how I feel like they're being portrayed, I feel like how do I say this? I feel like a lot of them are like, it's like, okay, it's like they're kind of comfortable being in feminine energy sometimes. Like it just feels as if like they kind of want to experience that whole like I kind of went down and like not be so mean all the time. Like that's just kind of what I'm seeing a lot on social media. It's like, why can't we do this too? Can't we do this? And it's like, you can. Isn't everything about a balance? Like, why do you have to stop doing this to be able to do this too? And so, like, that's just what I've seen a lot. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I hear women. I do hear women say that as well. I think there is a certain level of feminization of Black men that's going on, whether it's through media, obviously. I think on the other end, when Black men are trying to live in their masculinity, we come up with terms like toxic masculinity. So as anytime a man is trying to essentially be a man, we have women now telling us that that's toxic and it's toxic masculinity. So now it's like, you know, why are y'all trying to be
an example?
Go ahead.
What would be an example of toxic masculinity to you?
Man, I can't think of a specific example. I know I have heard that's a buzzword that's always been thrown around. In our community, every time a man is exhibiting like traits of masculinity, then it comes off as, oh, he's trying to control me. You know what I mean? He's trying to dictate what I do with my life. Like, you know what I mean? It comes off very like, oh, he's being toxic. And now it comes to the point where women are trying to dictate, what masculinity can be in a man. Like, you know what I mean? Which is, I think, is absurd.
I agree with that too. But I do agree with that. I do think women, we do that a lot. But I also find that men can be quite extreme. It's like, oh, I'm being too feminine. Okay, watch how masculine I can get. Oh, I'm too masculine. Watch how feminine I can get. It's like from 0 to 100. That's what I'm noticing. It's like, where is that balance? Where can we have that balance?
Yeah, I've never met a man that did that.
Yeah, that must be a Canada thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen that over here. Like men.
Maybe it might be something in Toronto. Who knows? But that's just something I've noticed. Is like
I think you're diving into something.
I don't know. I've been traveling to Toronto. I've been traveling to Toronto ever since I was 9, and I never saw that in CO. I've been dating Toronto for about 15 years.
Trish had mentioned something earlier where she said something about men who look at their woman as their mother, and they like went through like traumatic situations and they couldn't get over it. I think that is a heavy situation. I think I even had a process of that of growing up, because I was a person that raised himself. So when I got in relationships or situations, I looked at that woman to fill all the situations that my mother should have did. So I do understand that. And I think women need to stop coddling men who look for women to replace their mothers, if I could say so. And I don't want to say like just drop them off or whatever, but the coddling and thinking you can fix or heal the thing that he feel like he's missing is a waste of both your times. He actually got to get out of that relationship, heal himself, and try to fix it, rather than women trying to make him feel better about the situation.
Can I ask the women a question? What is the difference from a man saying, I want a woman that, was like my mother, right? Or whatever the case is, and the difference between a woman saying, well, I want a man that treated me like how my father, like, what is the difference? Because it seems like one gets shamed, and then the other one is like, well, that's expected of a man. You should treat me like how my father treated me. But when a man says, yo, you should treat me like how my mother treated me, now becomes, oh, you want to be coddled. It's feminine energy.
He got mommy issues.
Mommy, yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me tell you what I feel the issue is there. I don't feel like neither of those are correct. You should not want to be treated the way a man shouldn't want you to treat him the way his mother treated him, because that was his mom. Now, in a situation where you have both parents in the home, If I say I want a man like my father, meaning I want a man to treat me the way my father treated my mother. If you want a woman like your mom, you want a woman that's going to treat you the way your mother treated your father. Okay, because if you're saying you want a woman to treat you the way that that your mother treated you, you want a woman to coddle you. You want a woman to raise you, and that is not her job. You should already be raised. So that's where it becomes problematic. There's nothing wrong with wanting a woman like your mother, meaning you want a woman who did the things that your mother did for the household, for your father, for the family. But if you're saying you want a woman to treat you the way your mother treated you, that's a problem because you're looking to be treated like a child and you're a grown ass man. That's where the problem.
That's a problem for women too, right?
For women too. It goes for women too. Right. If you're saying that you want a man to treat you like your father treated you like a little girl. You are no longer a little girl. You're a grown woman. Okay, now you need to step into the role of being a woman. So you want a man to treat you the way your father treated your mother. That's a different expectation.
They just don't know how to say it. I think that's what people mean when they say it, but they just don't know how to word it properly.
Sure. That's why I don't agree with that princess treatment shit. Like, you want to be treated like a princess? I want a queen. I don't want a queen.
There you go.
All right. Well, let me move on to this next topic.
I got a super chat from Laura.
Oh my God.
She going crazy in the comments.
Oh my God.
In 2020, Black women and girls were killed at a rate of 1 every 5 hours. Let's focus on real issues. Femininity.
Yo, Cynthia G, is that you?
Okay.
The divestors is in the chat, man. Like, I do hear that stat. The divestors will say stats like that. We had Chad Charday. We'll probably have her on next week, actually. But she has debunked a lot of that rhetoric that's been going on. Some Black women will try to use that narrative as, Black men are just out here blatantly killing Black women and doing harmful things to Black women, like every 5 hours, which those things do happen. I get that and I acknowledge it, but to make it seem like, oh, Black men are just these evil, they're just waiting to hurt you and to kill you. And I mean, if you look at the stats, not to say it's any better, but I mean, Black men probably died at an even worse rate than that by other Black men, unfortunately. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not even trying to be like tit for tat. But, unfortunately, we have real issues in our community that we have to focus on. So,
and I don't like how you blame it on feminine energy. If most Black women are living in a masculine, then that's not saving y'all. You need to go back to the feminine. That's not just.
I mean,
these are the ones that get me. These are the people that I go that are underneath all of my posts saying this.
You got the divestors under your post, huh?
Oh my gosh.
So let me get to the we already here at this conversation. So I mean, obviously this gender war, do y'all think that's a real thing, or do you think it's only online, or what do y'all think about this whole gender war going on?
I think it's only online.
No, it's something that I feel started online and was not an actual thing, but because it spread so much in the media, it started seeping into real life. And I feel like that's what's going on. It started creeping off of the internet and into real life and causing strife in places that there was no strife before. Because you hear somebody online say, hey, well, women should be doing XYZ. And then you're like, you know what? I do notice that women aren't doing XYZ. Oh, why are men doing blah, blah, blah? And now this thing that was not an issue before, was not an actual problem, is now seeping into real life. And now people are finding issues in relationships where there were no previous issues.
Yeah, I think it's only a war now because men are actually, I think it's a war now because men have entered the chat. Because before, women have been saying all of this rhetoric for years on national television about Black men, and whatever the case is, the Black men deadbeats, that Black men are no good, they worthless, that they don't got a job, this, that. They've been going on a rampage for years, you know what I mean, expressing their frustrations with Black men. But ever since, you know what I mean, Black men are starting to now speak up and be like, hey, well, I have experiences with certain Black women as well. Now it was so one-sided before. Now it's like, okay, well, Black men have joined the chat. Now it has become a war because now both sides are expressing frustration with each other. And now the whole world is looking at it like, wow, they motherfuckers really can't get along over there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
just like you had the divestor movement, right? That was fine and good, where Black women were divesting from Black men But now you have this passport bro movement. And now you got all of these same divesting women who didn't want black men anyway, now talking about their predators and they're this and they're that. And like, it's like, y'all can't get a break to save your life. Like, I don't understand. Like, they didn't want you. So now you're trying to deter other women. If you see a passport brother come to your country, run. Like, why? What difference does it make? He's leaving you alone. That's what you wanted, right? I just don't get it.
They don't want us. They don't want nobody else to have us neither.
I mean, that is what it is, man. Like, I mean, so Trish, what's your thoughts on this? You think there's a gender war going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yes and no. Like, I think it only becomes a war because both sides are trying to show, like, I need to be seen. I need this. I need that. Like, both sides want to feel like they matter. So that's where the war comes in, because it's like a revolving door where it's like, okay, so I need to be validated. I need to be seen. I need to matter. So I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. And then a man will come back and be like, oh, no, wait, hold on. I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think it's a war. I don't think it's something that we're intentionally doing. I think it's just something that's happening because both sides need to feel like they matter. And unfortunately, today it's like everybody wants to matter. If you don't matter, especially with social media, like I feel like social media is kind of the death of a lot of stuff when it comes to us, because on social media, like, all you see is the positive stuff that people have uploaded. You don't see the 79 negative things they had to box out before they got that one super perfect post to put on there. So we're trying so hard to be like, oh, okay, well, he's doing that on social media, she's doing that on social media. Okay, so now it's my turn. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I agree with Trish. And I also think we have a war because we're trying to show who struggles the most. It's like, I struggle more than
Olympics
you.
type of situation.
It's like, I struggle more than you. This is what I go through this. Instead of actually understanding and listening to each other and validating each other, saying, yeah, you struggle and so do I. Let's help each other. We don't want to help each other. We just want to show who struggles the most. And that's where I think it's coming from.
You know what's funny though? Every other group of women looking at black women like, oh, this is what I'm not supposed to do to keep my man, and every other group of men are looking at us like, this is what the fuck y'all putting up with, and this shit is outrageous.
Yo, the crazy part is we had a in our old studio we had a I forgot, he was like European or Russian or from I don't know, he's a white guy, and you know he's never. It's probably his first time really being around this many black people having this type of conversation. I remember one time after the show, he was just like, yo, man, I didn't really, because the rhetoric that he would hear from the women in some episodes, he just like, yo, man, I didn't know y'all was going through this, man. Like, it's crazy out there. Like, you know, some of the rhetoric, obviously it don't represent all black women, but some of the rhetoric that he was hearing on every episode, it's like, yo, they really thinking like that over there? Like, yo, that's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So I think there is a gender war going on, unfortunately. Like I said, it's because black men have entered the chat. I think we're going to have to get to a period where it's going to be a bit divisive for everybody. Everybody's going to be arguing. This is going to be the argumentative that we need to hear both sides, and we don't want to hear it.
Huh? Is it a black thing?
No, I actually don't think it's a black thing. I hate when some black women be like, oh, well, you don't see other men in other races saying this about you do actually. There's a lot of white men. The manosphere is a thing in the white community, in the Asian community, in the Hispanic community. There's men frustrated with their women in every community. You know what I mean? So y'all just are not, some women are just not in that space because obviously if you follow in the Shade Room and Baller Alert, you're not in those spaces, so you don't know what's going on in their communities. But the women is complaining about the men too, like, you know what I mean, and the men vice versa. So
how many groups and shows do you see where there's like, what's that? Love and Hip Hop. How many other groups, other race?
They got those like
Real Housewives
and them Jersey, like Wives of Mobsters.
They're not black. They're not black too.
What, the white women? Hell no, like, you know what I'm saying? No,
they do got white shows. They do got black women on the show, but it's not all black.
Yeah, be white women on these. We just don't watch them, so we wouldn't know what the hell. Like, you know what I mean? It don't pique our interest.
I'm about to go watch this shit. Just be petty
They're gonna
about
be saying the same thing, man. Like, you know what I mean? So what is the solution? What is the solution? Like, cause I think, like I said, it's gonna get to a point where we're gonna have to hear each other. We're not gonna like what one another is gonna have to say, but eventually we're gonna have to listen to each other, both sides, you know, with an open mind and not listen to get, you know, triggered and listen to respond. We got to actually listen to each other, hear our needs, and then once we hear our needs, then we can come to the table and find some solutions, I think.
Yeah, this is why we all need to heal and learn to communicate, or it's just not going to happen. That's the thing.
I think is the not being able to take criticism, like somebody was saying earlier. I forgot who said it, but not being able to take constructive criticism. But like Eli said, like it's been a lot of shows of black women bashing black men for years, and I think it's worked in a sense, because you know, you used to call it black men a deadbeat. There's no fathers in the home. There's more fathers in the home now. You know what I mean? Like black men has rose to the occasion to and listen to what y'all been saying for years. So now that black men are speaking out, I mean you just got to hold yourself accountable and listen to what we're saying and not take it as just criticism, but constructive criticism.
You want to get to that super chat real quick? I don't know if you got to that.
There's 20,000. You heard? Shout out to Jay Rex with the 20,000.
Every time I see the 20,000, I'll be thinking it's not US, it's not USD. So I just be like, damn, that's $20,000. Like,
I'm about to say, I quit. I'm about
playing like $20 or something, but appreciate it. Like,
shout out to Jay Rex said Eli hit the nail on the head. It's because men are no longer afraid to tell women what they want. P.S. I am living in Medellin with my Colombian wife. They are beautiful black women all over the world.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, and that's the unfortunate reality for some.
Shout out to Jay Riggs.
Some black men is that they feel like they have to go elsewhere to find other black women. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, let me get to this last topic before we get up out of here. I do appreciate y'all for having a conversation. I know it's late. Yo, hit that like button, man. I know y'all enjoying the conversation, man. Like, you know what I mean? Make sure I cop the merch, man. I actually got it on today. Yeah, Dailyrapupcrew.co, man. Cop that merch, man. So, last topic is, are black men seemingly behind in society? So I think what I wanted to really discuss on that, because obviously that's a complex and multifaceted conversation. But what I'm starting to realize as a black man, right, and I use this example a lot. I think a lot of black men are undervalued. I think we are dehumanized. I don't think black men are allowed. Their voices aren't being heard. And, you know, I think the only reason people now are listening to black men is obviously because of the pandemic and people was home. So they had no other choice but to kind of listen to us at this point. But I don't think there's no resources allocated to young black boys and men. And I use this example all the time, and y'all can look this up at home. You know, we have a podcast. It's somewhat successful. You know, I mean, we got a couple of hundred, 1,000 subscribers and whatever, followers and all that. But, you know, we're looking to take this to the next level, obviously. And I looked up loans and grants and whatever the case is specific to black men, because it's easy to go find something that's, for the black community, but obviously it makes it more competitive. So I wanted to narrow down the opportunities for black men specifically. There was little to no grants, loans, etc. programs specifically designed for black men. But when on the opposite end, there were several loans, grants, scholarships specifically designed for black women. Even when you go to YouTube right now, if you look up fundraisers, like I was looking up, fundraisers to put on a channel, and I'm like, you know what? I understand that black men need to be in more positions of power. Let me see if I can find a fundraiser specific for black men. There were black men and young black boys. There were none, but I've seen plenty fundraisers for young black girls and black women and this, that, and the third. So, when I'm looking at the resources and, the time spent to help develop young black boys, there are none. You know what I mean? So when I say are black men behind, I think so, because you look at the education rates, you look at obviously the mass incarceration rates, the stereotypes that certain black men, or well, not even certain, but black men have to go through, whether, we're looked at as criminals or thugs, you know what I mean? Just the lack of representation or role models of black men in media. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't really see any positive representation of black men in the media, or any role models in pop culture, just for that fact. So it's hard for black men to see themselves reflected in society. We talk about obviously the health disparities. We talk about black men suffering higher rates of heart diseases. And we have the lowest, diabetes and stuff like that. We have the lowest, life expectancy. You know what I mean? And in America, black men do. So, I say this not to say any empathy, because ultimately I don't think we can't look at outside sources to come in to help black men. Black men have to start with each other. And this is why I always try to hold black men accountable, because I'm an advocate of black men, more black men stepping into that leadership roles, more black men, being productive fathers. So we have we have to come together and really support each other, not look at each other as the ops, as we trying to do harm to each other. I've said this on the show plenty of times, you know what I mean? So, like I said, it has nothing to do about, I want y'all to feel bad for black men. But as a black man, I have noticed the lack of resources that are provided to black men. And I don't know if y'all have seen it, you know what I mean, in y'all day-to-day lives, or if y'all could speak about that.
So
Yep.
I will speak. Sorry. So I have 6 boys. I am a mother of black men. Okay. I have 6 sons. So I definitely know that this is by design. If we continue to, first of all, black women are less intimidating than black men. So it's easier for them to advance. It's easier. So they are more willing to put resources into black women to allow them to progress, because they're less intimidating than black men. Okay, so if we continue to allow the black woman to advance and we hinder the black man from doing so, it continues to provide this gap where we continue to see the hyper independent black woman who no longer needs this black man because he is not at the level where she is. And it continues to promote dissension in the black family. It is by design. This is not, it's not accidental that they're pouring resources into black women, but not into black men. And we need to, like, if you look at the numbers, I want to say it's like we're at a point where I think it's like 90 to 95% of black men graduate high school. So it's not, they're graduating high school, but then when you look at the bachelor's degrees, you're only seeing maybe 25%. So it's not that, okay, they're not getting into college. They can get in because they're graduating high school. They can get in, but there are barriers that's preventing them from taking those steps. Like you said, they're very limited resources for black men. And so, yes, they are behind, but that's by design. It's not accidental, it's intentional. So until we can, as a community, come together and say, okay, we see this disparity, we want to do something about it, it's going to continue. If we're looking outside of us to advance, we're not going to get anywhere.
I think they know how powerful a black man, a black woman, and the black family is. So they're doing everything they can to break that up. That's why there's absolutely, black men have been unprotected, unheard, unvalidated for so long, to the point where they don't even feel worthy, because that's all that's drilled into their head and drilled into our heads. We have to, like she said, as a community, we got to be the ones to do it, because they're definitely not gonna do it for it. They don't want to see the black family win. They will not. They're never gonna have resources. That's not what
they work so hard to destroy it, you know what I mean? They damn sure not gonna let it build back up, you know what I mean? And I always say this, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my experience, when you uplift and empower black women, I think that in return they turn their back on men and say how much they don't need them. You know what I mean? So when you uplift and empower them, what are we hearing now? You know what I mean? I'm strong, I don't need a man. We're constantly hearing that they don't need a man. And it's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that the moment they get more educated, they start making more money. Now all of a sudden you have this rise of I don't need a man, you know what I mean? Like kind of mentality. I don't think it's coincidental, like, you know what I mean? So
I think this is just the modern version of what they did back in the day when it was offering assistance to women with kids that had no man in the household. It's just the modern day version, basically. Like get them all the success and power, and they gonna leave the black men alone. So.
Don't forget the debt, all the debt too.
Yeah, that too. It's just
a nigga gotta come marry.
They just updated the manual. That's all they did.
Anybody else got anything to say about that?
I agree. Like I feel
and then
like
it went even further.
I agree. I feel like
Go
the
ahead,
black
Trish.
people are behind through like due to no fault of your own. There's this image that circulates on social media. It's like, I don't know, there are like, I think there's a table on the backs of men. So the men are like the legs of the table, and then there are men around it and they're playing a game. And it always says something like, if only we would stand up. And usually it's geared toward like black people, but I feel like if only I feel like that's the men. Like the men are under it, the table, and then it has us. So if the men would stand up, then when the men stand up and then they take back the power as the black men, and the black women fall in line and submit, like we would be so powerful if we could just get it right. So I do feel like black men are behind, not because you deserve to be behind or because you're not putting in the work or you're not doing anything. It's just because we've been conditioned to believe that as long as you're down, everything else is gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, like I said, I'm very much an advocate just of the black love. I still believe in the nuclear family. I believe men need to get back into these leadership positions. But we have to stick together and do it ourselves. And unfortunately, we have such this distrust for each other. Where it's programmed at this point. Like, you know what I mean? It's psychological at this point. You know what I mean? Where we look at each other as, oh, well, I got to get a discount, or I'm not going to help him because I don't want him to do better than me. So the only people that's going to save the black community is black men. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to put it on black women. Is really black men. And the sooner we can come together and allocate our resources, to put back into the communities and into our families, like we're not going to get any better. White man, damn sure. Goldman Sachs, damn sure ain't going to spend no billions of dollars like they did with in black women. They're not going to do that for black men. Like, you know what I mean? The only time they invest into black men is either when it's the industrial prison complex or if it's media and entertainment. That's the only time they invest into black men. Anything else outside of that, they're not going to do that. So we just got to come together.
Money from that too. They get all the money from that, so they're not really.
We got to come together, man. Like that's all, and get back to the nuclear family.
I believe the black men will save us, but I do also believe that the black women have to let y'all, because if y'all are trying to save us, then we can't be like, wait, I'm an adult or I'm grown, I do my own thing. Like, I think we have to be willing to allow you to take the lead and trust that you have our best interest at heart.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, a lot of black men fall into the stereotype. When he get on, he's gonna leave you for a white girl. A lot of black men feel like they reach a certain level of status, a certain level of success, and they use that white girl, that Spanish girl, whatever the case may be, as a status symbol to say, look, I'm successful, because that is what they've been programmed to think, that this white girl is going to show people that you are somebody. So what happens is, the reason we don't see a lot of the community being built up is because when black men come up, they say, okay, just like Eli said, they say, okay, I got me, I'm good, I'm gonna go over here, instead of spreading the knowledge, instead of let me go back and build up, those people who, may need help. So like we said, it does come down to, the black man building up the black community as opposed to taking his success and going elsewhere.
That's one of the first things we've been taught is, once we get on, move out the hood, you know what I mean, and go to maybe a white neighborhood because that's a better neighborhood. Like, why don't we invest back into the same neighborhoods? Because when we don't invest into these neighborhoods, then what do you see happen? Gentrification. Now they kicking our people out. You know what I mean? So it's like, once we get to a point where we gain success, and that goes for black men and black women, we need to be able to invest that money back into our community so we can better the communities. You know what I mean?
Agree with that 100%.
To the super chat from Anthem, he said, "Our life."
Black men still marry us at a higher rate, though.
That is true.
But the world don't. Be heroes. We all have to carry the cross. Sacrifice for the better. Forgiveness is key. It heals both parties for the better life.
Yeah, man. Anyway, man, I'm gonna wrap this up, man. It's getting kind of late.
We got one more from Achilles. He said Monisha is very beautiful. Shout out to Achilles.
Thank you.
Yo, we appreciate y'all for coming on this panel. I knew from once I built this panel that it was going to be a good productive conversation, and I'm glad for everybody's input and opinions. A lot of people, we want to be balanced. Obviously, people going to get the you know, the entertainment side of the podcast and the Why Eli, but we also want to be balanced. And, you know, we really genuinely do care about the Black community and Black women and Black men. So, you know, we want to have these productive conversations as well. So again, y'all can let them know where they can follow you at, you know what I mean? Where they can maybe get y'all services from. You know, we got a couple of experts on the panel, you know.
Monisha, you can start.
Monisha, you can start.
You can find me on Instagram at ms_Monisha or on YouTube at Monisha F.
Make sure y'all follow y'all.
Oh, it's my turn.
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram _Coach V, and you can find me on TikTok at _V's Coaching.
I might as well just go in now.
Okay, so I am on Instagram and TikTok as that Psych MP Chick, so you guys can follow me on both of those platforms.
Okay.
I am on Instagram, emotional healing _coach _Trish, and TikTok.
That's very long. Like I look when I was looking it up, I was like, damn, this shit mad long. Like, God damn.
Okay, well, you can find me on TikTok at Lady Naraya, and you can also find me on YouTube at Naraya Shiloh Podcast.
Shout out to you. Last but not least.
And if you type in Jacolia Gems, you can find me here on YouTube, and TIERRA _holiday on Instagram and TikTok.
I think I got most of everybody's information linked in the description if y'all want to check them out. And again, tomorrow, make sure y'all tune in. We got the episode 11 a.m. in the morning, new episode. Make sure y'all join the membership, man. We got a ton of episodes in the stash. We got some exclusive episodes that only the members gonna get. So I think if y'all go to our page, I could join the membership. We got different tiers, but the members will get the episodes early, a week early every week, as well as other perks as well. So go check out that membership, man. We got a couple of members in the chat right now. And yeah, definitely support. And we got the game night. Do you want to talk about the game night real quick?
All right, so we got the game night coming January 21st. That's a Saturday. Start at 8:30. We're gonna celebrate Eli and Nate's birthday. So if y'all in NYC, make sure y'all pull up, get y'all tickets. Y'all can DM us. I don't know if the link is in.
It's in the community tab, but y'all can find it.
Yeah, it's in the community tab. So it's gonna be a fun entertainment night. You know what I mean? You can win stuff. There's gonna be drinks there. There's gonna be games there. So I mean, it's self-explanatory.
Word.
That's my birthday.
Oh, that's your birthday too?
On the 21st? All right, pull up. We got a shot for you, man. Pull up.
Yeah, man.
Definitely have to pull up. Yeah, again, we appreciate y'all, and we're gonna get up out of here.